Hey there, fellow wanderers. Picture yourself draped in layers of fine silk, the fabric whispering against your skin with every movement. The air is heavy with the musky scent of incense, commingling with the sharp tang of metal. Your fingers trace the embroidery of your tunic, a testament to your status, but a tapestry of discomfort in the sweltering summer heat. Each step you take in those ill-fitting leather shoes sends a jolt of awareness up your spine, reminding you of the rigid social landscape you're ambling through. This is not a fairy tale, where the lordship is a bed of roses sans thorns. Instead, it is a world of raw, unvarnished truth, weighted in both fabric and responsibility. So, before we dive deeper, I ask only this. If this kind of raw, unvarnished truth speaks to you, click like, hit subscribe, and leave a trace of yourself in the comments. Tell me your city, your time, your state of mind. Now, dim the lights. Let the hum of your fan blend with the wind of centuries past. Let's begin. And remember, in medieval times, even survival was a luxury. You trudge through the grand hall of your castle, your footsteps echoing off the stone walls, your every movement scrutinized by eyes both envious and expectant. The weight of your garments is a constant reminder of your elevated status, but also a stumble-ready burden. These aren't just clothes. They are a proclamation of your status, turning your very appearance into a battlefield of fashion and hierarchy. Beneath the surface, though, this grand attire hides an overarching vulnerability. Silk, imported from far-off lands that you only ever hear spoken of, feels luxurious, but is treacherously thin, offering little protection against the biting winds that creep through the stone bones of your castle. Each layer, designed for warmth and opulence, begs a lingering question: how close to comfort can you really get? The shimmer of your attire, dazzling and decorative, contrasts sharply with the clang and clatter of armored boots on flagstones. In the rare moments when silence envelops the corridors, it bears a gravity that compresses everything. It touches a silent commentary on the true nature of medieval lordship. Historians still argue whether the ostentatious clothing was more imperative for social survival than battle armor, but there's no denying the tension in serving dual responsibilities, one of a defender and one of a peacock on display. Imagine how each cloak billowing behind you in vibrant blues and reds must preside over matters of state at banquets and councils, an obligation that seems laughable against the grim realities of governance. But laugh sparingly, dear reader, because in a place where appearances guard a fragile stability, humor is as much a luxury as a hot bath. And speaking of baths, let's not forget that hygiene wasn't just a personal affair, it was a public spectacle, a display of power and privilege. Your court, crowded with merchants, knights and nobility, hangs on your every move. There's Jonas, the tactless jester whose jokes are more invasive than entertaining, more reason for you to envy the plain-tunist commoners who need not endure his blathering. And Marjorie, the steward's daughter, who virtually floats between anticipating and meeting your needs. One wonders if she carries some secret, a burden only the lord of the household will never see. Now, the issue of shoes, a mundane detail perhaps, yet crucial nonetheless. One might expect footwear to be practical, but alas, here form overrules function. The shoes are pointed, extravagant shoes that hint at devilish eccentricity rather than assuring comfort or swift movement. As you shuffle rather than stride, your mind wanders to think about the era's technology, or rather the lack thereof. In this world, shoemaking is as much about deception as it is about protection from muddy paths and lingering odors. And behind closed doors, there lie the whispered secrets of power, locked away in your chambers like sacred relics. The burden is palpable, manifesting in the quill marks, staining your fingertips purple as you've spent hours more on parchment than on horse. The quill and ink are million-year batteries of responsibility, inscribing rescripts which could spell prosperity or ruin. It's almost as if each stroke of the pen demands more respect than the glint of a sword, a notion both exhilarating and disturbing. Ah, the sword. Remember that bulky piece of decorative metal sitting idly in your scabbard? An ironic symbol of authority, more likely to trip you on the staircase than protect you from an enemy's lance. A protection inclusive only in theory, because if the chainmail shirt beneath your tunic couldn't even defend against the castle's cold, how could it fend off a hostile blade? You glimpse through the window slits, the winds pronouncing their gusty authority against the stone. Inside, your world might be draped in velvet, but outside, it's a world unfriendly and ever-changing, bound by cycles of frost and thaw. With the sun's descent, the torches begin their dying dance, their flickering flames casting long shadows that merge into corridors of uncertainty. Therein lies the cruel irony of medieval lordship, a life encased in beauty, yet enshrouded in constant caution. Silence becomes your confidant, whispers your weapons, as the weight of silk and the sheen of steel become scales that tip with each calculated move. You find yourself suspended in a delicate balance, where an extra spoonful at the feast might weigh more than principles, and an overextended hand could invite an unseen sword. So as you grasp the silence around, remember, there's more than meets the eyes both within these walls and beyond. In this world, your survival isn't ensured by the glamour of your garb, but rather by your skill in navigating between luxury and peril, deception and discretion. Dear traveller, the weight you bear is multifaceted, a legacy less enchanting, more enduring. The aroma wafting through the castle's grand hall is frankly overwhelming. A hearty blend of roasted meats, warm bread, and simmering spices fills the air, mingling with the thick, smoky undercurrent of burning wood. You stand at the threshold of an opulent feast, prepared in your honor. Your senses are immediately accosted by the richness of it all, ready to plunge into an extravagant celebration that teeters dangerously close to gluttony. The tables groan under the weight of delicacies unimaginable to most of your subjects, a cornucopia of abundance that is both delicious and deceptive. Yet this display of wealth and status, while sumptuous, comes with its own set of perils. Feast days are frequent almost as often as your heartburn. Each event is a social tightrope walk, requiring revelry without transgression. You find yourself wedged between retaining dignity and indulging in the cacophony of culinary excess. As your cup endlessly refills with wine, it becomes a paradox, a unifier one mouthful, a point of contention the next. Excess is both king and master here, and you must be wary of its trappings. Casting your eyes around the hall, the scene feels reminiscent of a Norman Rockwell painting gone awry. Squabbling guests, each decked in garments as lavish as your own, vie for your attention like moths to a mesmerizing flamey, feverish attempt to outdo one another in fanciful toasts or clever jests. You smile politely, cheer when necessary, and chuckle when appropriate, each action calculated, each mouthful a strategic bite in this gastronomic game of thrones. What escapes unnoticed in this confusing tableau are the risks hidden beneath the surface of merriment, the quiet saboteurs lounging on your plates. Historians still argue whether the peculiar meats and exotic spices were meant more for disguise than culinary delight. But one thing is certain, even small slices of indulgence could bear worrying fruit. The year-round unavailability of fresh produce makes simple fruits and vegetables a rare luxury, creating a nutrient imbalance that tips scales more predictably than rival kingly plots. Fish, overloaded with salty brine, and venison if cooked less than perfect present dubious risks to your health. Remember that serene piper in the market you crossed upon your last visit to town? His livelihood rests on spreading tales of food poisoning and mysterious illnesses that conveniently seem to affect only the opulent. Imagine as you chow down heartily, sinking your teeth into a rich duck breast, that this very indulgence could result in days of unparalleled discomfort, reminiscent of the miserable days of green bile sickness. However, not even this caution tempers the pleasure of spiced stews and mulled ales, choked with honey and herbs. These medieval potions bring warmth to body and heart, with no thought spared to their effects on the liver or mind. It would be light years before the planet, much less the lords of yore, unmasked the perilous dance of cholesterol or sugar turning bold revels into slow diseases. In truth, what your banquet truly crystallizes is a depiction of the societal maelstrom swirling around you. Peers and sycophants mingle, their conversations heavy with alliance or subterfuge, the air ripe with discussions that run deeper than your goblet or the histamine creeping through your body. Overfilled platters become bargaining chips, and you, the broker, amidst it all. The sheer volume of it is staggering, like a never-ending tapestry being woven right before your eyes, but laced with arteries clogging, with each celebrant reaching across stuffed pheasants to forge or forget kinship. You'll notice, perhaps, the sinewy dance of the skilled jugglers leaping around the tables. Not merely entertainers, their performance epitomizes the deft balancing act your ancestors perfected in managing relations, maintaining smiles, and tasting danger. As dancers pirouette with apples and knives, remember that even the blade most poised can falter. Friendships, treaties, and loyalties are netted together by intricate knots stronger than your favored shepherd's breed, just as odorous, if left untended. And to truly curdle the cream of the feast, there comes a philosophical weight to hosting these hullabaloos. The lord of the castle must invariably choose a reluctant father figure dictating familial comfort, or a potential despiser scrutinizing the motives of every upward glance. An indulgent entree, or a strickening spectre. Feasting becomes a spectrum all its own, whether curbing indulgences or brandishing princely magnanimity. The Sisyphean burden of perception rests on shoulders clotted with tension. Retreating from the table, gently easing the heavy rings from your fingers, the hall fades into ivory shadow. Left behind, the echoes of merriment soften as an ever-present chill wraps itself around you like an old friend, just as forbidding as the threats of illness you face. With each clink of crystal and waft of overspiced air, your mind wraps itself around the stark truth that no abundance can shield an unwary heart or weakened resolve. This is why, with another sip of wine, another half-smile, you draw the night to a close. You revel in the newfound peace beyond merriment, relinquishing gratitude in equal measure to your heavy cloak. As the last signature swirl of cinnamon tea bobs gold against the dying firelight, the castle shifts from its feast-day pageantry back into somber midnight repose. There is a weight lifted, a foretaste of the simplicity that lies waiting at the horizon's edge. The sun has set, leaving you enveloped in the oppressively cold embrace of your grand, stone-etched fortress. Despite the evening's revelry, a shiver waltzes down your spine as you move through the castle corridors, trailing behind the faint warmth of hearth fires long since extinguished. Each breath produces a small cloud, a puff of existence floating amid the draughty expanse. You clutch your cloak tighter, acutely aware that your castle, ho magnificent, yet mercilesses, less a warm sanctuary, and more a vast, unforgiving icebox. Living in these great stone castles is often romanticized in modern lore as an epoch of splendor, but beneath the embroidered tapestries and grand tapes stands a fortress that retains winter's grip long beyond its welcome. Historians still argue whether these castles were designed more for defense or deterrence, yet there's consensus that comfort was never part of the architectural plan. Just as the stone walls rise robust and unyielding, so too do they stubbornly absorb and reflect the chill, creating an ambience more glacier than homestead. Within these storied halls on crisp winter nights, you are not only confronted with the drafts, they are practically your cohabitant. The myriad gaps in the stonework allow insidious gusts to snake their way through rooms and corridors, creating a constant chill that seeps into bones, sapping warmth, comfort, and sometimes even will. Your fireplace, an oversized gaping maw, seems to taunt more than temper the frigid air, more an aesthetic centerpiece than a source of solace. Remember that extravagant feast you hosted? Well, here in the depths of the castle's chill, even the hottest broth would cool to edibility before reaching your lips. Your ground floor is no better a retreat. Stone floors, polished smooth by centuries of footsteps, provide a landscape that bites at your feet like the icy breath of nature itself. No socks or slippers are proof against this, but a single deerskin rug by your bed offers a patch of reprieve, a small island against the sea of icy stone. In this realm of cold disdain, you must weigh comfort against the peril of practicality, for even the act of dressing entails layering against the temperature as much as styling for the socialites. The castle towers high, sacrificing thermal reprieve for defensive benefit. Imagine standing watch upon the parapets, gazing out over frosted fields, winds gusting as though to tear the cloak from your shoulders. These same lofty turrets mean more than chilled cheeks and numbed fingers. They lend visibility to encroaching enemies, yet pay dearly in heat loss. The constant vigilance essential for a lord turns nights and days into relentless battles with wind and weather. As you stroll through the halls, consider the residents huddled behind shuttered apertures. Servants buzz around like industrious bees in a hive, their lives entrenched in maintaining the illusion of warmth. Some shuffle about wrapped in layers, reeking faintly of the smoke that's become a staple scent in this cold climate. Kitchens hold court at the bottom of the costly crucible, where different elements spiral above boiling pots, creating clouds of steam that gather like ghosts, only to dissipate as rapidly as they appear. If anything can offer respite from the never-ending battle against cold, it's just maybe your luxuriously large four-poster bed. Bundled in myriad covers quilt, down, kisses of furet, serves as the king of comforts within this kingdom. Nestling beneath its cocoon can mimic the feeling of lounging at hearth's edge. Yet lately, modern archaeologists have uncovered curious additions to the sleeping arrangements. Hot stones wrapped in wool, which were used to heat the linens on pre-industrial nights. There's peculiarity in how comfort implements invention where stone rebelled against luxury. But alas, the layers conceal danger, not the least of which includes the vexing, creeping dampness borne upon moist air and stirred by endless draughts. When nightfall harbors dew like a second skin, it's the kind of clammy damp that stretches through each fiber of your attire, whispering ailments most unwelcome rheumatism and influenza, those anonymous plagues, drifting invisibly among chilly shadows. Furthermore, even rodents, yes. The obligatory mice find refuge within the wall's hidden embraces, seeking the same warmth you cherish, while unintentionally playing their role in undermining the very foundations they inhabit. Their tiny scurrying feet, hidden from view, are a somber reminder of the untended edges rekindling affinities with vulnerability. Yet despite the unceasing discomforts, the castle keeps calling. Like the enigmatic sardonic quest of court jesters, there's a twisted pleasure in situating oneself in these frigid towers. Small victories over the cold foster a sense of victors within cobbled confines, an intricate dance between endurance and existence, revealing that lordly prestige walks hand in hand with affliction. And so, wrapped within cloak and quilt, perched upon your high, impossibly cold bastion with the tang of petrichor misleadingly sweet on the moonlit air, the castle remains, a haven, a fixture, your fortress. As you shiver and silently shush the curse of cold winds, you're wed to the age-old narrative of survival within walls, crafted more as timeless sentinel and less as welcoming host. The flickering torchlight casts long shadows against the stone walls of the castle's great hall, where you sit atop a carved wooden chair that feels more imposing than comfortable, a conspicuous reminder of your rank. Its high-backed towers over gatherers and guests alike, symbolizing authority's inescapable burden. Yet, as the clatter of the day's activities hums along, you find your thoughts spinning in an endless cycle of obligations and duties that elevate expectations and accelerate exhaustion. Yes, the title of Lord carries with it great power and privilege, but herein lies the hidden reality, the relentless burden of power. The responsibilities of overseeing a medieval estate are vast and demanding a juggling act worthy of the most skilled performer. Picture yourself, ledger in hand, poring over lists of taxes, stocks, and quarrels, each line representing a decision to be made. And though your fingers are stained with ink, these decisions bear heavier consequences than any mere clerical errors. Beneath this veil of routine is the knowledge that one wrong choice, one miscalculation, could unravel the delicate fabric of your domain. The governance of your lands involves intricate alliances and feudal obligations bound by oaths that ripple through the social stratum like a tightly pulled thread. Your vassals look to you for leadership, as their oaths bind them to your cause, yet liege relations can shift with the mere whisper of dissent or deception. Thus, the key lies not only in authority, but in nuanced diplomacy, balancing whim and will to maintain the peace and prosperity of your realm. As the shadows deepen, strategic acumen becomes as essential as the metal in your armory. Determining friend from foe requires a perspicacious eye and cautious heart, as fealty lies bound to the wind's changing course. Historians still argue whether diplomacy or fear forged stronger bonds of loyalty among subjects. But it is clear that relationships built on respect are doubly important in times of famine or drought, setting you apart as a deft navigator in unsteady seas. Your council meetings are microcosms of this exertion and arena, where pressing matters duel endlessly for priority. There, amid discussion of taxes and tenant matters, rivalries between lesser lords and knights rear their heads like crests in a treacherous sea. Like seasoned players performing an unseen play, poised for acts of coercion or concession, you must be both director and participant, aiming to placate without conceding, strategize without succumbing to stoicism, and remonstrate without recrimination. And what of sleep? The respite sorely craved, yet seldom entertained. It evades your grasp each night. As restless whispers speak through the castle walls an account of nations from afar, and their intricate dance with your own. You slip between layers of linen and faded pelts, only to rise again before dawn, affairs waiting in ambivalence on the mind's cluttered horizon. Over your morning cup of ale, you contemplate what various missives will bring new opportunities for alliances or undertakings that could tilt the scales of destiny. It can appear incongruous, perhaps, as you stand at the throne of your power, to feel consumed by the very responsibilities meant to sustain your dominion. Yet the concerns weigh heavily: land management, vassal needs, legal responsibility all requiring deft foresight, the construction of bridges and roads, the dispensation of justice, and the cultivation of resources all weave into this complex tapestry. Even as recreation or relaxation calls for your appearance, bear this in mind. Every hunt, every tournament is double-edged: a chance to see and be seen, to strengthen bonds or spark unwarranted conflicts when spear meets shield or horse meets hurdle. Such occasions, meant to break monotony, demand ceaseless vigilance, lest you step into traps not fabricated from wood or metal, but from the amassed intentions of your peers. Moreover, your command over this assemblage extends deep into your personal relations. Family represents an extension of status, their actions both reflection and consequence of your own. Marital alliances must be carefully constructed, not just for camaraderie, but to secure land and future prospects of influence. The dance of love and power can be harmonious, yet fraught with new tensions underneath layers of regal expectations. Thus, here in the crux of wealth and tenacity, where days unroll like parchment upon a spinning wheel of change and challenge, a wry joke emerges. A lord's work is never truly done until his tutor bids him sleep. Even in the scant comfort of rest, power's demands echo ceaselessly through the night. And so, as you consider this exhaustive orchestration that bears upon dawn, you realize that lords may savor the fruits of their status, but enduring this masquerade demands an unyielding cast of Mindan, eloquent twist to the grandeur of medieval narrative. For now, the fire embers slow in their dance behind glances, and the hall's murmurs wane as torchlight succumbs to the quiet of the encroaching night. You take one last breath of resolve, fearless as your intentions steel against fatigue beneath the ancient weight of the roof, chronicling, even in the exhaustion, how burdensome empowerment becomes when steeped against the tides of medieval endurance. You rise each morning long before the sun, the lingering veil of night still draped across the land like a forgotten shroud. The fire from the previous night's hearth sits cold, the embers nothing more than grey whispers in the dawn's stillness. Your first breath catches in the crisp air a blend of chilled stone and the earthy aroma of the dense woodlands just beyond your castle's fortified walls. The world may appear still and somnolent, but the day ahead brims with expectation and obligation, not unlike a modern high-pressure job, though with stakes far more corporeal than spreadsheets or presentations. Gathering your bearings, you move toward the stained glass window, squinting against the reflective darkness. The morning routine of a medieval lord is no leisurely affair. It is as disciplined as it is demanding, a regimented ritual honed from years of practice and unyielding expectation. You ring a small bell, prompting the hurried entrance of your attendants, their footsteps pattering softly against the stone floors like distant rain. You begin with the basics, somewhat familiar, washing your face and hands in a basin of refreshingly cold water. This is not the warm, comforting shower of modern convenience, but a brisk awakening that sharpens the senses and clears the mind. Remember that herbal concoction you saw from the apothecary. The scent of that same thyme and rosemary herb wafts upward as you cleanse, a vigorous preparation for the day's trials. Once dressed, your garments laid out with precision, the night before your mind shifts, focused to your first meal. Here, breakfast remains a modest endeavor. Unlike the feasts of evening past, the fare is simple, yet sustaining. Fresh-baked bread, cheese, and a mug of ale or weak beer line the table. Certainly no breakfast cereals or Instagrammable avocado toasts here. Breakfast is consumed in quiet anticipation, more refueling pit stop than dining experience, with each bite a strategic plan to fuel your agenda, an agenda packed tighter than the embroidered stitches adorning your sleeves. As sustenance is consumed, the real demands begin. Scarcely has the last crumb disappeared from your plate when the day envelops you wholly. You march, almost subconsciously, to a chamber lined with maps and tomes, the strategy room where you'll greet the morning's reports and demands. Each scroll and parchment unfurled bears a new list of petitions and issues from your estate. You're the CEO of this medieval microcosm blend of monarch, mediator, and manager, tasked with intricate decisions that weave your role into the broader fabric of lordship. Your eyes sweep over patterns of fields, settlements sewn together by paths and rivers, landmarks in this expanse under your dominion. Your mind charts where grain yields threaten to sputter out, or livestock scores decline a maddening daily landscape that must be tended with care. Even while advisors bustle about, each proffering suggestions that range from insightful to incredulous, authority hinges unequivocally on your decisions. To manage these lands is not merely cultivating crops or tax collection, it's an education in controlling chaos, forging alliances, and pliantly pulling the frayed threads of socio-economic logistics beneath an ever-curious gaze. Historians still argue whether medieval lords relied more on shrewd intelligence or the sheer force of will to maintain their domains, but you suspect that a delicate combination of cunning deployment and sympathetic adjudication marks the balance between flourishing lineage and oblivion. Now, as the daylight stretches further across the room, you hear the familiar clatter of armored practicenot a wall away. Young squires spar under the watchful eyes of seasoned knights. Battle readiness is one of your foremost concerns, both personal and political. For each day the potential conflicts loom just beyond horizon folds. Like a practiced mariner, you must steer through storms where misjudged intentions might sink your estate's credibility or defense if left unchecked. Your morning is a fervor of private consultations, all wrapped around this essential strategy. The Lord's duty springs anew each day, unfurling like the tapestry hung large within your audience chamber, detailing your lineage. Complacency has no place here. Each twist of thread symbolizes the balance between inherited honor and unspoken fear. Fear that the tapestry might unweave beneath oppressive uncertainty or external tribulations. Amid this cacophony of duty, your skilled falconer arrives with hooded bird upon glover break within the frenzy where tentative stewardship meets primal tradition. With the creature's hood removed, the falcon soars victory outlined against the azure horizon, a reminder that freedom persists amid endless duty. Momentarily you breathe in deeply, savoring this fragment of stillness, before retreating back into pressing demands and negotiations over land grants. Finally, the early hours dissolve into noon, with the sun's ascent offering fleeting solace before the midday meal becomes a brisk pause, amidst a constant current to regroup and reciprocate learned exigency. Your world may rely on ageless rituals, but these rituals bind continuity and tradition. So, with determined resolve, you march forward, a delicate march across medieval morns where sunlight dapples paths beyond stone walls, unfurling a landscape both vital and vulnerable. As you press into this march, remember, the daily trudge is not merely an exertion of power, it's an embodiment, a living testament of the responsibilities fused into the marrow of any lord worth his title. Each morning, heralded by layer upon layer of pressures, proves a new battleground melding foresight, with intuitive imperatives that conceal faint vows of primacy and progress. Here, as the day's rush takes another turn, survival is as much a ritual as it is an art form, honed over time and stilled against the yawning chasm of history's iconic shadows. Your morning ablutions complete, and the echoes of muffled footsteps whispering through the drafty halls, the day's real challenges unfurl their tangled threads. Today's primary concern, like a recurring motif in your noble tapestry, is money, the coin, the purse, the weight of wealth that underpins every castle cornerstone and village croft in your domain. Taxes, tithes, and the restless clatter of dice, the fiscal trifecta that dictates the rhythm of your lordship. Imagine a wooden table in your private study, spread with parchment scrolls, an array of numbers peppered with ink stains that record the economic pulse of your estate. Under the warm glow of flickering candles, these figures feel for an instant like arcane symbols, a complex code for which you alone possess the key. Yet for all your feigned familiarity, there remains an unpredictable element, an edge of chance not wholly mastered. In this era, tax collection is both an art and a trial by vigilance. Laws, like tapestries, display elaborate designs that jump from tradition to tradition, woven with strands of obligation and property. The task is further complicated by scribes and stewards, oscillating across estates, wielding quills with the precision of a surgeon while untangling the accounts. And even these seasoned vassals occasionally stumble, finding their ledgers unraveling beneath disentangling miscalculations. Some taxes, though standard, are open to the whims of medieval life, determined by conditions as varied as the quality of the harvest to the glint of the moon. You find yourself regularly navigating these waters, buoyed by your inner counsel, ensuring the ebb and flow of revenue sustains the very architecture under which you govern. It's a dance between liabilities and leverage, threading through the economic reeds, where harvest fields drag and sudden dews blossom with little notice. And so, financial security is rarely secure. You witness rival lords or adjacent territories struggling with scandals, blame plummeting upon their heads like a raven's sudden dive. The rumor and threat of retribution linger in the air like a persistent spectiate. This is no mere nebulous concern. Rather, it is tied tightly to the purse strings of your estate, where deemed judgment plays as crucial a role as carefully recorded coin listings. Historians still argue whether luck or skill played the larger role in a lord's financial maneuvering, but the lines often blur. The delicate balance of risk and reward evokes the capricious roll of dice in a noble-ordered wager. Yes, the household enjoys recreation time-wide tournaments of chance among courtesans and keener moment of levity, but with potential to tip fortunes until noon's breath grows dim. Conversations unheard peek through time. Do you see? One knight whispers at the gambling table, peering over tilted tankard. Even our good lord must fend with faltering coin. Every jelly-hearted moment in count. You must approach these moments of monetary meditation as both acrobat and accountant, hovering across lines of figures and fees, making micro-calculations under the lingering echoes of seasonal weather reports. A misstep here, misenlightened tax directive, and you could inadvertently turn serf against steward, steward against scribe, inciting fissures that claw the estate itself. Yet beyond the cobwebbed intrigue and monetary maneuvers comes the facade. Your castle remains visibly stoic, arches wrapped in gallant finery, even as shadows stretch with each fiscal report you handle. This is where decisions lay heavily. Must you raise additional levies, risk straining peasants, or birthing dissent within your ranks? You weigh each decision on scales of tradition and necessity. Each choice carries untapped virtue or tacit betrayal, where the inhabitants toil unwearyingly as testament to practicality's gravity. The stakes are high, the pot itself laced with promise or pitfalls, rewarding cautious hindsight or condemning hasty choices. As your councillors scuttle to and fro, breaking through the curve of afternoon meetings, a curious scene unfolds. Beneath bell towers you catch sight of townsfolk, carrying with them memories as vibrant as their morning market cries. Words whisper cautiously through corridors. Coins carry weight beyond their glitter. A gentle reminder that the economics of estate management bear tangible repercussions on the broader community canvas. Grasping this knowledge emboldens you, clarifies your role beyond a ledger's surface. You're not simply a figurehead overseeing an economic bout, nor a silent spectator amidst a calculated default. You are lord, navigator, and guardian, ensuring prosperity doesn't become the castle's gilded cage, but its promise a prospect that neither luck nor lineage alone can nurture to fruition. The wind outside has picked up, tugging at the pennants and heraldry atop your tower. Within these varying avenues of financial stability lies your vision-sustained equity fortified by judicious resolve, solidifying a balance where every decision ripples through time, echoing within castle walls. As ink dries and ledgers close till morrow, this intricate tapestry remains tethered by truth and tradition alike, a cauldron of prized tribute within the querulous lull of power's expectations. The clang of metal rings rhythmically through the courtyard as squires and knights at arms engage in their daily drills. The sound carries into the heart of the castle, where you sit observing from the stone balcony with a subtle mix of admiration and apprehension. Below, the sun catches the polished armor, reflecting brilliant fingers of light that punctuate the morning shadow, a reminder of the elegance and mischief inherent in the lord's attire. The armor, this shiny suit, meticulously crafted and embodying your status, is more a symbol than a solution, a fashion statement as much as a safeguard. The moment comes when a suit of armor is precisely fitted to your form. Each piece curves with dedicated precision, intended to mold seamlessly with your contours while adding a semblance of grandeur to your presence. Historians agree that no figure is more emblematic of medieval lordship than the armored knight. Yet debate persists over whether these metal casings provided genuine protection or simply elevated ceremonial spectacle. Your armor bespeaks prestige and underscores power, but upon closer inspection, trouble regally parades beneath its polished facade. Donning this shimmering ensemble offers a glimpse into the heaviness, both figuratively and literally. The steel plates, skined with fine glistening edges, remain bulky and demand an unseasoned strength to carry a weight surpassing the sum of its rivets. Pinioned on days spent, stooped more delicate than dauntless. Wearing armor evokes something from a bygone theatrical performance, with grace given away to the whim of cumbersome contours. Physical demands loom large. What's often heralded as protective, paradoxically hinders more than enhances. Walk through the castle and one might as well be wading through mud, the clanking echoes foretelling the approach with mock exaggeration. As instrument of war, armor obliges you to embrace a peculiar limberness, the art of maneuvering behind coarse shields, greeting foes with a backbreaking twist, rather than pitching forward in uninhibited assault. Each greave, gauntlet, and gorget flows from arms, legs, and chest into a tornado of movement, transpiring more pantomime than perfection. Yes, simple rotation, or basic respiration, invites near symphonic minutiae, laced with every clang and jostler coupe of auditory indignities one might prefer absent. Add to that the challenge of visibility. The Helm, an imposing creation of vision-obscuring artistry, cradles your head noble, certainly but blind, to all but the most central of views. Long gone is any inkling of peripheral presence or panoramic adventurism. Instead, sight shrinks within a slit, a limitation feckled with uncertainty, risking blunders amid unseen hazards or the obstinate charm of backward-stepping lackeys. But nonetheless, time marches ever forward, underscoring both this surface illusion and frailty of fairy tale protection. Should cold steel clash with equal fervor against enemy armor, a cherry note marks a ceremonious challenge between council board and weapon hilt. Consider this curious contemplation. Armor bends ply beneath the weight of force, rather than swinging wild or true, the horse beneath an equally precarious, prancing partner. Yet, every attentive mold to fabricate these weights reminds you of camaraderie and knightly Valora society, accurately schooled to defend the intricate arpeggio of gallant order. Your heart, beating beneath the busy breastplate, can parallel an instrument tuned over time, ready to accompany choirs of heraldic promise. The contrast hubris offers grants justifiable solace upon conquered fears, as if armor symbolizes more than glancing familiarity, a parade of sovereignty fused in spirit. Above this martial architecture hangs the conclusion. Armor may befuddle rather than defend, encasing valor bound beneath wind-tossed banners. You, shorn ready for tourneys of defensa in the illusion, perform with noble spectacle before peasantry or peer. Thus, each plated pivot may present both vulnerability and honor accompaniment from a time set askew between hope and hegemony. Nevertheless, even in ridicule, the ancient chorus plays on, the flowing clatter of squires rocking from foot to foot, confirming resurgent rhythm again resounds. This has been one mere masqueradia measured part of reality, oft reliant less upon armor's strength, and more upon the mercurial might of strategic mastery. Burnished embellishments become outward testimony to perceived supremacy, a finely adorned shell wrapping around unyielding roots below. As you gaze distanced, beyond brigandine's glinting, questions of authenticity persist. Now you recognize the poetic irony stretching through plated visage, which like sculpted armor demands both admiration and discernment. Here on this platform between shores of history constructed and evolving, this ancient notion woven into symbolism tempers, leadership preserved within shadowed metal. From the conclusion of a tale amidst unspoken tribute and stainless defense, you stand once again unarmored. Progress, often born as part retelling, ripples through both myth and might, sculpting what lingers shared the yield surely earned, a privilege cemented within whispered legacy and vellum-rich lore alike. As the echoes of clashing swords and trundling armor fade into the background, You find yourself standing on the threshold of your council chamber, the weighty oak doors opening to reveal a scene of simmering tension. This room, adorned with maps and elaborate tapestries, is not just a space for decisions, but a stage for intrigue realm, where political currents are as unpredictable as the winds outside your castle walls. Here, you navigate the delicate dance of ruling territories, where loyalties shift like the sands, and the art of governance becomes both an exercise in patience and the cultivation of astute foresight. As Lord, your command stretches over lands dotted with villages, each governed by unwritten rules and ancient customs. The people who inhabit these lands are as varied as the landscapes themselves, a patchwork of tenant farmers, tradespeople, and itinerant troubadours, all contributing to the ebb and flow of rural life. The connection you have to these people is vital, yet it is fraught with challenges that require deft handling. Your liege lords, the noblemen and chieftains under your command, are gathered around the grand table at the center of the room. Some grip the edges of their seats with white-knuckled determination. Others recline with the practiced ease of seasoned negotiators. Each has his own agenda, ambitions concealed beneath a veil of courtesy and custom. Your task is to maintain balance, steering conversations as skillfully as a helmsman navigating through stormy seas. The matters of governance are never straightforward. Resource disputes, boundary conflicts, and familial alliances all intertwine, fostering an environment as unpredictable as it is potent. Historians still argue whether lords of your stature wielded more actual influence, or appeared merely as figureheads buoyed by tradition. Yet, the subtleties of dialogue and the sway of whispers maintain the illusion of theatrical display of unity, however temporary. You must walk a careful line between asserting authority and nurturing loyalty. One misstep, one ill-considered decree, and you risk this entire structure of power collapsing like a poorly built tower. So, you tread carefully, engaging your counsel with keen instinct and intangible foresight. Here, rhetoric becomes your sword, and diplomacy your shield against internal unrest. You are both leader and confidant, balancing understanding and compliance with wisdom hard-won from experience. The very nature of this dynamic terrain asks much of you. As discussions spiral into debates, the warmth of fellowship turning steely with disagreement, you take stock of the faces before you. William, the veteran knight, suggests a redistribution of grain based on surpluses, but his gaze betrays a flicker of self-interest, a cunning aberration in an otherwise trusted ally. Meanwhile, Leofric's murmured agreement echoes less from conviction and more from vested benefit, preserved beneath the table's flickering candles. Amidst these brooding correspondences and whispered judgments, you endure the fortress's silent chaperone the wind, tapping against the casements and driving home the isolation inherent in authority. Beyond this chamber's confines, the elements remain unpredictable guests in your extended household, relying on the day's dictated mercy or reward. It's a reminder that chaos lies outside of these walls, and your speech, the plans you orchestrate, are an alchemical fusion turning base impulse into calculated execution. Remember, too, there lurks beneath these official mantles another strain, unbending and unbreakable the people themselves. Their toil sustains your realm, their grievances often left unspoken. Peasants, though removed from these central debates, possess a unique power all their own, the power of the many, against which even the mightiest walls cannot stand. To overlook them, to deny their grievances or needs, is to court disaster, the kind with consequences seeping deep into your earthen foundation. Just as the midday sun marks time on worn stone, you ponder this in-out structure seeming so fragile, a testament to both harmony and distinct fragility. The structural legacy you seek to protect must evolve as seasons turn, imbued by an unseen legitimacy that naturally binds every layered decree as part of a sovereign lineage's map. It is a precarious balance, the art of governance, a dance set in time and wed to voices, ink, governance, each day extending a tapestry of patience. As the council chamber gradually empties, your mind remains tethered to this intricate weave. You're both artist and chaperone embroidering connections, even as hints of disillusionment tease the corners of this estate. Ultimately, as the final wafts of ale leave the room, you find solace beneath a looming silhouette tapestry reminder over hallowed descent from shadow-spun sinew. Seasons may turn contracts bramble thinner over intents and destinies, capturing ever a realm's promise and sacrifice. And now, As the echo faintly retreats with departing footsteps, your awareness sharpens towards affection territories nurtured in hearthlight and dusted breath. You understand. Decisions are neither fuel nor hindrance, but the escorting voice within towering cadence or countryside still. Only then, and with composed footsteps and poised resolve, you stride through the castle's cold grandeur, lingering long onto abundance beneath sun and stone, a worthy steward of territories refined and skilled beneath flint and trade. The air reeks of anticipation and the mild tang of sweat as you find yourself amidst the stone walls of the castle's inner quad, a grand space alive with the sounds of preparation and drill. Around you, the hustle and bustle of armed men fill the air, their focus sharp, their movements a heady mix of discipline and controlled chaos. In their midst, you stand a lord poised to lead, but beneath that composed exterior, you grapple with a poignant truth: the heaviness of the helm. It is not merely the tangible weight of metal that concerns you, but the burden of leading soldiers into battle, a task far more dread-inducing than it is glorious. The armor you donned earlier seems heavier now, pressing against your shoulders with a gravity that transcends physical mass. It is the embodiment of responsibility, a shield for your people, an emblem of your standing, yet a chilling reminder that each decision could lead brave souls to face peril for causes beyond themselves. Historians still argue whether lords were true tactical leaders or symbolic figureheads escorted by generals, but the mantle of command weighs persistently upon your brow. As the knights assemble, you sense their eyes upon you, their respect pinned not to the gleam of metal, but to the strength of resolve they see reflected in your gaze. These men, armored and armed, entrust their futures to your guidance, knitting their fates to your strategic judgment like so many threads in an invisible tapestry. The stakes extend beyond just the physical encounter, for here, amidst sword and shield, lay the entwined remnants of legacy and ambition. In this moment, you reflect on the unpredictable nature of warfare itself, a chaos barely tamed by human endeavor. A castle operates much like a military camp, perpetually alert, a living organism dependent on the synchronized rhythms of its defenders. This morning's march might lead to conquest or retreat, each maneuver a dance, echoed by an orchestra of swords clashing and arrows loosed each of their paths bearing consequences scribed into history. The intricacy of medieval warfare communicating through a medley of horns and banners, knights charging with defiant galloping vigor, becomes a tactical performance, demanding foresight and flexibility. You must anticipate not only the movements of the enemy, whose tactics unfurl with practiced guile, but also manage the composure and morale of your troops, maintaining cohesion among ranks that could easily descend into chaos. And as the clamor of men rises to meet the morning sky, a chilling breeze wraps around you, not unlike the cold hand of doubt that rests unbidden upon your shoulder. The sounds of sharpening swords amplify your thoughts, each scrape a reminder of the conflict that could loom not just in fields of grass, but in the corridors of your mind. Yet your knights remain steadfast, loyal not merely by oath or the clinking coin, but by shared vision, a common purpose forged in the crucible of loyalty and courage. To don the crest, to wear this helmet, means facing not only the physical battle, but an inner struggle as well. It represents a quest for honor, one often overshadowed by the shadow of fear. For each engagement lays bare the indelible truth. Victory is sometimes a shadow play between survival and sacrifice, a dance caught between radiant hope and the specter of loss. Against this backdrop, your soldiers reflect an air of stoic determination, their focus unscathed by the looming possibility of challenges unknown. The weight of command beckons less for grandeur, as it needs silhouetted courage within the battlements, reminding you that, amid glorious tales or celebrated conjure, leading from the front bears all attention on the heart's firmament fealty, coursing like an unseen river among the ranks. And yet, even as the battlefield calls, strategy extends beyond solely combat, ensuring your fighters' well-being. Their fantasies of camaraderie foster growth within barracks and forge, providing for their needs and understanding what drives them becomes paramount. Trust is something earned, a bridge constructed over time and trials, unbroken in the thunderous roar or silent whisper. As the sun arcs upward in the sky, the time draws near to give orders, to organize resolve into formation, a harmony dictated by your command. These brave souls, seized under a singular banner, underpin narratives of more than mere chivalry or valor. They march forth under the promise, and fervor bound deeply within their steadfast spirit and your call. Therein lies the truth of leadership, of donning the heavy helm. It is more than symbolism. It is a breath of life echoed in moments fierce, unyielding. The demands are not merely tactical, they stand enveloped within compassion as motivation, a calling not to lord but to mentor, inspire, and guide. And so, as you brace for the moment of advance, your heart thunders in your chest, nerves taut with anticipation. The helm atop your head a beacon to those who place their trust in you. Today, glory is less about victory and more about heart's certainty. Pacing the weary hour, with resolve Anawar walk, headlong into halls where victory is duty discharge, entwined with knightly kin for stories told, and yet untolder. Lord charting, destinies amidst light and leisured nightfall. The great halls of your castle echo with the disciplined footfalls of armored knights, and the whispers of noble courtiers. Yet beyond these grand spaces lies another realm known less resplendent, but infinitely more complex. The realm of justice, where regal authority meets the gritty reality of medieval life, waiting to be administered with both fairness and wisdom. Today, your path leads you towards this fraught responsibility, one which stands as a testament to your role as arbiter and adjudicator over the varied fates of your subjects. In medieval times, the real courtroom drama unfolds in far more modest surroundings than imagined. Each judgment begins not within the confines of stately chambers, but rather in a space that shifts from castle forecourt to market square. An impromptu arena yet rich with consequence. The law is part written testament, part common tradition, emblazoned into stone and memory alike, and your role is to interpret and enforce it with clarity. Historians still argue whether justice under lords leaned more deeply into fair arbitration or punitive exemplification. Nevertheless, each decision sends ripples through your domain. Your chancellor stands by your side, a keen mind familiar with both statute and customary law. Together, you prepare to address the disputes and grievances brought forth by a cross-section of the populace. The cases range from disputes over property lines to the theft of livestock, each nuanced with circumstance and, sometimes, suspicion that requires your discernment. The first case of the day comprises a land dispute between two villagers, their livelihoods tangled in rows of crops, separated by a mere stone's throw. If those lowly rocks could talk, insoluble by standard arbitration, they now look to you for a settlement, their hopes pinned upon your perceived wisdom. Here, decisions demand more than the mere recital of law, but a savvy appreciation of livelihoods, resources, and harmony among neighbors. Such matters do not always hold clear answers. Ambiguity thrives where definitions accord no shelter from human complexity. You listen attentively as their pleas unravel within your ear, picking through each ligament of argument, striving to align this dissonance with fairness and precarity alike. The final decree, though modest, resonates with the power to restore, pacify, or unsettle, and it must be honed with the laser focus of equanimity. More than a mere adjudicator, you serve as peacekeeper, facilitator, easing tensions, surging through disputes, personal and communal. The proceedings carry with them a certain theatricality, each argument calling upon a chorus of witnesses, some too eager to embellish facts in favor of sentiment. In your stead, they discover that judgment must navigate the delicate sphere of demonstrated goodwill, steering fates clear of reprisal or ire. It is not only the common folk who seek justice at your court. Occasionally, noble feuds drift towards these hallowed grounds, entangled in disputes over marriage alliances, inheritance claims, or promises unmet. Such cases often involve more than simple judicial resolve. They call for sagacity and an understanding of familial undercurrents. Lineage vies for precedence. Relationships as strategic as chess matches unfold the very bones of your realm held together by mutual respect or all too familiar rancor. But every ruling faces challenges, both external and internal. At times, decisions renew festering animosities that soon rankle beneath rulings deemed unjust. You find yourself mediating between heads. Wagered fate leans heavy behind closed doors, convincing two opposing parties toward terms they barely taste but for their futures. There's an awareness threading all proceedings, the recognition that today's judgments fortify tomorrow's reputation. Every judgment rendered serves as a reflection of your own standing, each pronouncement an extension of your ethos that both peers and subjects observe with observant eyes. Amid all this, you must remain vigilant, as a misstep threatens to unravel the social fabric so carefully woven. A single misjudged decision might embolden unrest, turning whispers of dissatisfaction into a loud and unmanageable clamor. Here, the realpolitik intrudes, blending philosophy with pragmatism, a juxtaposition reflected in the faces around you, awaiting your decree with bated breath. As the day progresses, and the disputes continue their steady march across the docket, you find some solace in the moments of harmony achieved, the rare sense of community restored through compromise and just action. When justice prevails with dignity and decorum, it reinforces your place not only as the lawgiver, but as the moral compass guiding your people through a landscape rife with tension and trials. With the final ruling delivered and the crowd dispersing into the lingering afternoon light, you stand momentarily amidst the quiet. Justice, you realize, is less about supremacy and more about stewardship, a balance between inherited duty and evolving principles. A dance adeptly choreographed to align power's reach with just consequence for neighbor and noble alike. In the recess of this moment, beneath the sky's heavenly vaulting expanse, you feel the echo of an eternal promise. It's a commitment echoing through generations sown of tempered guidance, principled discernment, and the belief that fairness resides not in iron fists, but in open hearts and thoughtful minds. Here, under the fading light, the gavel of time taps assuredly as you stand witness to justice's ever-resilient call within the chronicles of your lordly tomorrow. The soft light of the afternoon sun filters through the intricately designed windows, casting a dance of colors across the hall as you move past tapestries rich with emblems of your family's storied past. Yet, for all the glory and grandeur these halls evoke, it is not the legacy etched in thread that occupies your thoughts today. Instead, your mind is wrapped in the intricacies of love, marriage, and land deals a triad, woven as tightly as a knight's chainmail, each element as essential as it is entangling. The notion of marriage in medieval times extends beyond the romantic liaisons we've come to cherish. Relationships here are entangled with strategy, treaties with personal stakes, alliances crafted through the binding vows exchanged beneath an awe-filled congregation. Your marriage, like those of your peers, is more than an intimate union. It is an orchestrated meeting point of dynasty, diplomacy, and often an insidious calculus of property and power. As you step into the great dining hall where portraits of your ancestors watch knowingly from the walls, you recognize the symbolic weight such events bring to the table. Like any prudent lord, you approach these alliances deliberately. They are transactions imbued with the currency of trust and expectation. An ill-matched marriage can unravel lineages, whereas a fortuitous union cements formidable connections, the kind that shapes destinies across generations. Today's meeting draws attention to such complexity, centering on negotiations with the neighboring lord, a man whose lands border your own, ripe for strengthening existing affiliations through marital bond. Enveloping the air is a delicate tension palpable, alive, much like the steadfast rhythm of your heart. On the surface lie the gestures of discourse, the exchange of pleasantries, of verbal riposte cloaking intentions and aspirations. His daughter, Eleanor, is the focal point. Young, strong-willed, and impossibly capable, she represents a keen alliance through marriage, yet her perspectives remain a cipher. Your own counsel advises astutely, weighing potential gifts of territory coupled with the viscerally practical exchange outlined in family contract. It's a reminder unions here involve negotiations beyond emotional engagements, entwined as they are with strategized consolation, shifting more by parchment than passion. Historians still argue whether medieval marriage functioned more consequentially as a merger of assets than hearts. But among these ceremonial walls, both facets energetically entwine. You engage Lord Richard, sparring in riddles more layered than any match of swords. Diplomatic wit flexes not unlike knights perfecting their thrusts, seeking consensus regardless of tumultuous inheritance background. Your own memory hearkens subtly. The moment you stood in brilliant vestments beside your bride, an intertwining of fates beneath gilded chandeliers, marriage, at once a beacon and burden held in perpetuity. Dissension whispers in familial lines, attempting grasp where only collaboration tenderly threads occur. Yet within the inclinations present today lies sovereign reality, There's no underestimating these negotiations' calculated effect. Your heir represents the composite hope of continuity, ambition suspended, a future sculptured in vigilant foresight, should boundaries shift beneath thrumming feet. The lands and lines together, each complement melding uniquely unto origami folded tureens past unfurled trial, and over wine-sweetened conversation honey on the tongue, yet wasp-idle beneath it becomes apparent that the unison desired may hold, for agreement loops within woven filament, tightening bonds edged against customary parchment. You realize there is latitude, a compromise satisfactory emerging genteel and methodical, the outcome less pomp and circumstance, more honor knit together agreements skilled. Beneath scarlet cloth, your wine splashes gently, catching sudden rays between crystal threads as you toast this newly formed alliance. Shared smiles catch conceivable hesitation, then relax warmly outcomes new to spruce a future bridged in hearth and heart, aspiring constructively. The day draws quietly toward its end, yet echoes linger amidst quietude climbing evening-bound flights. Presence by your side is Lady Clarissalova, companion, a quiet monument of strength that, even caught in scheming majesty, sets foundation upon the grand game of terrestrial temples. What such bindings may lack in fairy tale whimsy they encompass in their resolute understanding of connubial union as both a beacon of light and fortification within life's perpetual storm. Now, as curdled twilight echoes through chambers vast, firmness tugs the seeping marrow of your intentions, and you dwell on lessons through a night halcyon. While some unions serve honor, entwined fast in strategic assurance, others celebrate both practical and emotional, a layered expression drawn amidst family crests and shields beyond hardwood courts. Your deeds echo ages ahead. For a medieval lord, marriage is a tale spun more from necessity than whim, yet underappreciated, seamlessly holding esteem and art distinct. These are cornerstones threaded among life's textured fabric, woven over the aspirations and consent etched beneath each layer of alloyed ardor. Love nestles here, resiliently quiet, defining its consecrated boundary as a whisper beneath velvet echoes, one willing verse harnessed between worlds whispered unfold. As the evening descends softly upon your castle, a chill winds its way through the long winding corridors, trailing through the hidden recesses and echoes of stones that have borne witness to countless generations. For all its majesty, a castle is more than just a fortress. It is a living monument to medieval life, complete with its own set of challenges. Chief among these is a reality less often glorified in tales of chivalry: the woes of Castle Hygiene. In the hushed twilight, as the last rays of the sun retreat below the horizon, your senses are immediately accosted by a distinctive stew of aromas. The lingering essence of last night's feast weaves slowly alongside the tang of smoke curling from hearths, punctuated by the more human scents that accompany a bustling household of its magnitude. Medieval castles, for all their grandeur, are unfortunately more acquainted with the pungent weight of humanity than one might wish to admit. Here is an establishment where personal cleanliness intertwines with medieval practicality and, occasionally, neglect. Bathing is ritualistic, but seldom practiced with modern regularity. Each soak a laborious endeavor, requiring cumbersome logistics, the filling of wooden tubs with hand-warmed water and generous applications of herbs and flower petals intended to freshen the ambience more than cleanse the skin. Historians note that nobles often indulged in baths when circumstances and resources allowed, with entire ceremonies dedicated to the art of washing. Yet beneath these rituals lurks a less sanitized truth-own, inescapable within these stone walls, where draughts carry not only the crisp air but whispers of bodily functions best left undiscussed. Venturing through the shadows, a not-so-subtle reminder of just how the castles manage human waste becomes apparent in the form of the garderobes, primitive precursors to modern conveniences, arrayed along exterior walls. Strategic placement above the moat bears its own irony, as what once offered defense now harbors murmurings of overnight disdainer, finely wrought convergence of necessity and displeasure, met only with understanding. Not all residents enjoy the Lord's occasional luxury of heated chamber pots. For servants and commoners dwelling beneath this roof, daily life bears witness to an arrangement less beholden to refinement, where discarded refuse delineates space. Much of this refuse finds itself reluctantly escorted to external middens, where composting marks its gradual return to the earther medieval dance among odors and rediscovered utility. This is where the familiar meets the peculiar. Household vermin, those perpetual adversarious mice and rats, hidden within flagstones and behind panelled walls, emerge stealthily by twilight. These unseen guests are as much a part of the castle as the inhabitants themselves, waging a covert campaign for scraps, thriving prosperously in the labyrinthine recesses hosts prefer to ignore. It is amidst these realities that your steward, industrious and unwavering, endeavors to maintain appearances. Servants wield brooms with determination, herding straw about to capture dust and debris, countering ancient cobwebs that reign in yak sculleries and cobbles. Candles refresh the air, their wax dripping onto heirloom tapestried frames, drawing a delicate aroma designed just slightly to conceal the tyranny of the place. While cleanliness is a communal effort, it relies even more on shared obligation. Body oils commingle with mineral dust to subtly reshape floors beneath iron-shod boots. Yet resilience tempers throughout, underscoring connections forged from shared necessity. Here, humans and stone find solacing equilibrium daily, subtle reinforcement, rendering texture of sustaining spirit. Amidst laughter, song, and tasks dutifully embraced, those alongside you strive to sustain a semblance of composure beneath the strong scent of present circumstance. The realities of medieval life flow less as mundanity and more as elemental, reminding you beneath this stone canopy living well is part staged spectacle, part earthy engagement among the simplest terrain. And beyond awareness, the castle joins in measured chorus, whispering myriad secrets to breeze-stricken beams. Tales timeless weave amid stones, their narratives knit in layers discrete within shared connection-lasting moments, cradled long by banners shadow lifted. Reflecting on it, you find comfort in this fragile harmony, woven into everyday occupancy. Even as shadows wax deep within concourse vast, you retreat into an evening's solace, understanding better the dance of sustainable existence defined neither by pristine elegance nor flawless refinement, but by the enduring embrace of elegant survival. These stones were bereft once of modern understanding, yet in their midst stands a memory consigned beneath feet-traced lineage where survival, humanity, and persistence collide amongst daylight, nightfall, fortunes, and fate unraveling and reuniting exquisitely afresh within walls less burdened than beacon. Day by day, as fires begin anew, you conceive routines anew, not to be taken for granted a reflection where laughter meets lunged breathing and dignity tempers destiny. This is medieval life, the gentle truce between work and watchfulness, as stones yet uncracked rest equable, sheltering hearts, bound by woven history, a fortress layered, braced, and imbued with art and grounding material that echoes alongside hearth-bound laughter, etching warmth under history's veiling sigh. The sun dips low in the sky, painting the castle courtyard in hues of gold and crimson, as you make your way towards the great hall where tonight's festivities will unfold. The atmosphere is alive with a peculiar blend of anticipation and nostalgia. A subtle symphony of lutes and lyres begins to play softly, the melodies weaving their way through the corridors like a gentle breeze, setting the stage for an evening of music, mirth, and mingling. This is no mere gathering, but an event steeped in societal strategy, where entertaining troubadours and entertaining rivals are two sides of the same gilded coin. The troubadours, those wandering minstrels renowned for their storytelling prowess and melodic prowessa, the lifeblood of courtly festivities. They spin tales of chivalric valor and heart-stirring romance, their songs carrying the weight of history and legend across the room. Yet beneath the notes and harmonious chords lies an intricate tapestry of influence and persuasion, their performances often serving as veiled commentaries on the intricate dance of politics and power. Today, their arrival coincides with the seeking of favor, for each verse could sway alliances or influence loyalties. As you enter the hall, the air is thick with anticipation, aristocrats mingling with practiced ease, their laughter intermingling with the music. On the surface, the evening promises revelry and camaraderie, but a closer look reveals the true nature of this gatheringa strategic exercise designed to forge new alliances and solidify old ones. The troubadours, with their artful narratives and compelling presence, become instruments of influence, their words carrying the power to sway the hearts and minds of even the most stoic nobility. It's no accident that those gathered here tonight include not only your most trusted allies, but those whose intentions remain shrouded in uncertainty potential rivals, whose every gesture and glance are weighed and interpreted. To entertain them is to engage them, to subtly gauge their positions without revealing your own stance prematurely. The songs that fill the air are woven with themes of love and loss, heroic deeds, and the triumphs of noble lineage. These are tales that resonate deeply within the assembled guests, each story a reminder of shared traditions and values that bind them together despite their differences. As each ballad concludes, applause erupts, a courteous gesture, but also an acknowledgement of a shared understanding. Yet beyond the immediate pleasures of music and storytelling lies the intricate game of courtly lover delicate dance that often guides the evening's undertones. In the medieval court, love is more than a personal affair. It is a performance laced with metaphor, a balance of sincere affection and calculated display. Songs of romantic longing evoke a sense of drama, a formalized back and forth of admiration that spills over into real-life interactions. It's both an art form and a philosophical joust, revealing what one is willing to risk and what one hopes to secure in return. Historians still debate the true nature of courtly love, whether it was primarily an idealized, unattainable exercise or a subtle form of resistance against rigid social constraints. Yet what's certain is that these interactions provided a framework for communication and negotiation among the nobility, relationships forged in song and sentiment. As the evening progresses, conversations blossom like the night-blooming jasmine, occasionally shifting from pleasantries to dialogue rich, with potential for alliance or intrigue. This mingling of performances and politics extends beyond the confines of the hall, each interaction a seed vying for growth amid the fertile mix of ambition and desire. And so, you move through the thronger word here, a gesture there each calculated to glean information as much as disperse your own messages. It is a subtle, non-verbal conversation, an unspoken rhetoric, punctuated by lyrical emphasis. The Troubadours' stories offer opportunities to observe reactions, measure responses, and draw conclusions about the overarching discourse that shapes courtly relations. Meanwhile, the Troubadours' performance shifts toward the dramatic, weaving in tales of conquest and defeat. Their voices rise with impassioned fervor, a crescendo of emotion that resonates with the hushed audience, each note a deeper layer revealing the multifaceted nature of human experience: power, loss, redemption, and love. It serves as a reminder of the shared stories binding you to those around you, offering both solace and strategy in your dealings. In the glow of torchlight and warm candle flames casting flickering patterns on the walls, you understand the subtle genius of such evenings, where entertainment doubles as education and stories challenge perspectives as much as they delight. This is a realm where words carry the weight of an entire kingdom, and harmony seduces the discord within. As the festivities draw to a close, troubadours are met with enthusiastic applause, their artistry having entrenched unspoken influence amid the gathered nobility. The evening has been a masterful blend of art and power, the air thick with the lingering warmth of intrigue and camaraderie. Retiring to your chambers, you ponder the events of the night, how the enchanted songs, interlaced with sincere manipulations, carried their own stories into tomorrow's destiny. You rest assured in the knowledge that amid music's powerful grip, rivals have been swayed, and alliances have been subtly inscribed into the heart's soft parchment, ready to be read anew, as the first light of dawn touches the waking world. As dawn's gentle light kisses the stone walls of your castle, the day's challenges assume their rightful places within the rhythm of life. Among these duties lies a task fraught with both necessity and nuance, lording over peasants. Upon first glance, overseeing the common folk seems straightforward: harvests to monitor, duties to collect, fields to oversee. Yet, delve deeper, and it becomes apparent managing peasants is akin to an art form, a subtle and complex engagement, reminiscent of herding cats under the unpredictable skies of changing season. Stepping out into the open courtyard, you are greeted by the sights and sounds of daily life. The distant cries of dawn's first roosters blend with the chatter of villagers already bustling with their tasks. These are the people who make your realm function, the unseen hands turning the wheels of agrarian routine, yet whose labor keeps your domain prosperous. As lord, your role is to guide them, to draw from them the best of their abilities, and to do so requires a mix of patience, empathy, and astute observation. The heart of medieval life beats upon the tapestry of feudal obligation stacks, well worn by the balance of protections offered by you, their lord, and the services rendered by those who work the land. However, the prosperity of these peasants is fragile, subject to nature's whims more than your decree, rendering each year's yield as unpredictable as your night's tourney results. Today, your responsibilities call you to the village, a short ride, beyond castle walls, a journey marked by fertile fields, stretching like a patchwork quilt across the fertile landscape. Each plot of land is graced by the toils of those who till its soil. Behind every tillage line lies a story, layered with hopes and worries, spoken in the language of plowshares and cyclical harvests. Upon arrival, you're met with a gathering of local leaders, village elders, who carry the wisdom of countless seasons within their weathered faces. They await your presence with a mixture of reverence and restraint. The village has flourished under favorable conditions, yet there's mention of a creeping Malasian seasonal weather affecting crops and the whispered concerns that take root during such times of insecurity. As you engage them in conversation, the tone is grounded in mutual respect, a dance of words between leader and liege. It is a dynamic that demands listening more than dictating a relationship tethered to trust, for their well-being is delicately twined with the prosperity of your domain. Historians still argue over the efficacy of feudal systems, whether they provided more stability or exploitation, yet here in the heart of these communities, the nuances of governance grant insight into the delicate balance of power and endurance. You find yourself drawn into discussions on crop rotations, pest control, and the need for flexible tax assessments, a reminder that even the most modest adjustment can ripple benefit across families, ensuring sustenance and satisfaction. The essence of your influence emerges not through heavy-handed decrees, but through wise counsel and patience. You encourage practices drawn from shared knowledge, seeking solutions in collaboration. It's a reality that pushes against the image of a hard rule, where wisdom and understanding intensify respect far more than force would ever yield. Among those with whom you converse is old Thomas, a farmer who speaks earnestly about the land's quirks, tales spun not merely from an agricultural calendar, but from the soul of someone entwined with the earth. His recollections floods, tempered by fortuitous bloom, seasons offer something more than information. They are fissures in a veneer of ordered life, revealing the tenacity hidden just beneath the surface of common perception. As discussions conclude, you move through the village, stopping at the market to engage traders discussing plans for upcoming fairs, their stalls bright with the color and clamor only the promise of future profits might reveal. Commerce marks the intersection of every existence. Here, where life meets with both necessity and aspiration, the peasants temper their vulnerability by ingeniously negotiating social buying where goods trade parallel with gossip and knowledge. Returning towards home, your mind mulls over what you've learned. Leadership is not merely enacted within your castle's echoing walls, but carried upon every interaction, woven tightly into the fabric of communal connections. It resides within the trust your people place upon your shoulders, where justice, equity, and understanding meet burdened boulder. The Aziol ride back presents a rare moment of tranquility, a place free from ambition's tether. Within this binding frame, reality is not wholly commanded by decree, but shaped through drought and plenitude, like inclinations revered by timeless soil. And rain, upon its graced arrival, underscore anew beneficial lessons learned, layers constructed within each gossamer bond now resolved. Once back, in your lordly enclave, as evening falls against steadfast walls, echoes of daily endeavors whisper through chambers now occupied by contemplation. Within time's unyielding tapestry, you find renewed understanding of humanity's mighty sinew, where ruled allegiance illuminates more than merely service tendered. It strengthens the enduring conviction behind stones that bind stories' lines anew. While peasants may often elude a master's hand, their resilience shapes insistence upon prosperity, in ever-winding paths beneath vigilant oversight, where you will be both leader and lesson learned among hearts unrestrained. The journey back to the castle brings with it a sense of reprieve, a moment to reflect on the daily rituals that, while simple, hold extraordinary weight. Yet, amid the mundane and managerial, another aspect of your lordship looms larger, less tangible challenge that demands not armor nor diplomacy, but the alignment of heart and hope. It comes in the form of a realm where reality meets mysticism, Medicinian ever, puzzling discipline straddling the thin line between Leechcraft and law. In your time, the nature of healing is a curious amalgamation of empirical knowledge and ancient superstition. The ailments that afflict your domain run the gambit from mundane injuries of daily labor to mysterious maladies that defy explanation, a conundrum steeped more in fear than understanding. Medicine here is as much a social contract as it is a discipline, embracing the ministrations of learned physicians alongside the traditional wisdom of herbalists and wise women. As you pass through the castle gates, the distant chiming of the monastery bells reminds you of the symbiotic relationship between your rule and the church, including the role that clerics play in the realm of medieval healthcare. Historians still debate whether the church hindered or helped the progression of medicine during these times, whether miracle or mantra carried the greater efficacy in healing. But what cannot be questioned is the influence of monastic orders on the corpus of medical knowledge, bound as it was into weighty tomes within well-guarded libraries. Within the bustling heart of your castle, a small infirmary stands a place, both refuge and reverie, carrying odors of crushed herbs and poultices, mixed with an aroma of anticipation. Here, the care of the sick mingles with murmured prayers, each remedy strumming the fine chord between hope and happenstance. Tonight, as the stars begin their slow procession across the deepening night, you make your way to the infirmary, where the daily strains and bruises of life are soothed by capable hands. The healer, Bronwyn, a woman as adept with mortar and pestle as she is at weaving incantations, is busy at her work. Her knowledge, grown over years, spent studying both text and the land's many gifts, equips her with insight into remedies far richer than the sum of their parts. You seek her counsel on a recent ailment, a lingering cough, troubling several of your people through the winter months. Her wisdom reveals not merely the properties of cough-crafting remedies like thyme or honey, but an understanding of the land's voice whispered on each wind and breeze, true sense of how nature and human form one whole. In Bronwyn's domain, belief holds sway as stalwart companion, each potion summoned through ritual spanning memory and imagination. Herbal teas and mixtures provide action with impatient, well-worn hands, as she blends vibrant echinacea stem with whispers of chamomile's calming presence. You watch closely as she patiently instructs an earnest apprentice life's fragile endurance, bound together through enduring observance. While miraculous cures rest well within hopeful ambition, they mask a simple truth, echoed louder within its limits, a connection unerring between healer and the spirit's vitality. Practicality dictates alongside these philosophies the courage needed in eyeing a cure beyond mere awareness. As you ponder this inclusive pursuit, there's room for both aspiration and modest endeavor marching in unison together. Yet find amidst infirmary's sacred voices, quackery fermenting in hushed corners, dubious nostrum peddlers, promising relieved sorrows, not unlike our modern snake oil salesmen ambush you occasionally with flashy assurances of healing truths, each claim heralding miracle cures rarely respectful to veracity's taste. Here lies eternal debate upon alchemists' birth-seeking through tincture, and table and endowment rarely gained outside reason's purview. And yet, despite the dubiousness of some methods, you hold steadfast within conviction, neither cynically condemned nor overly embraced. Within every sprain, dressed and salve soaked into inflamed skin, a kernel of understanding grows, bridging knowledge from its sagely cradle, adding to humanity's greater lexicon through discovery, found artless in longevity. So as night deepens, you leave the warmth of the infirmary behind, carrying with you the quieting assurance birthed through care, humility, and commitment. Below the vast expanse of the star-clad sky, you find harmony in the knowledge that humanity's quest for healing nuances, our larger narrative balance, widely pursued, as you consider wise physician and hopeful healer alike, steering cautiously beyond tangled fabric, spun in threads of knowing yore. In darkened chambers of your stone-bound residence, each breath punctuates conviction, holding forth conviction that in between marks of skeptics and devotees lies passion, the simple act of tending towards hopeful restoration. This is how the tale of lordship folds back on itself, holding itself within law's sacred text that stretches across time, through kindness, understanding, and respect for nature's revelation against ailments beyond initial reckoning, advancing into pixels of tomorrow, threaded through veneration's kinder gaze. The morning sun casts its golden hue upon your castle walls, weaving warmth into the stone fabric of your centuries-old fortress. As you stroll through the bustling courtyard, the rhythmic clatter of craftsmen at work fills the air, a comforting reminder of the relentless endeavors that sustain your realm. Yet beneath this industrious hum lies another reality, a subtler undercurrent of information, of secrets and scandals whispered through corridors and concealed within ink-stained scrolls. You find yourself contemplating the subtle power of words, the potency of the scribes, secrets, and scandals that form the medieval world's version of social media. In an era where news travels not with the tap of a finger, but through the painstaking work of scribes, the control of information becomes both an art and a weapon. You understand that literacy is a skill possessed by the few, making those who wield the pen custodians of power within your court. The scribes labor tirelessly under the flickering light of candles, crafting documents that carry your decrees and record the pulse of your domain. Their work ensures that events are etched into permanence, chronicled for posterity to judge. Your castle's scriptorium is alive with the delicate scratching of quills, where ink meets parchment in a dance of glyphs and lines. The head scribe, a seasoned scholar with ink-stained fingers and knowing eyes, oversees this sacred space. Each piece of parchment he oversees is akin to a microcosm of your world, its margins filled with commentary, its text a testament to the intricacies of governance. Yet, as with all sources of power, the world of script is fraught with the potential for both enlightenment and manipulation. Historians continue to debate whether medieval scribes were merely passive recorders or active participants in shaping public opinion. Within the shadows of the scriptorium, text and subtext entwine, revealing the subtle art of persuasion and the cunning that often flavors the written word. Today, as you enter the room lined with shelves brimming with scrolls, you are privy to the quiet conversations these scribes facilitate. The scent of vellum lingers heavily in the air, a testament to the tangible presence of history in the making. Here, amidst the scrolls, lies correspondence both banal and momentous. Letters exchanged with neighboring lords, edicts requiring careful wording, and decrees that must reflect your judgment as much as they reassure your people pass through this room, each document a thread in the web of your relationships and responsibilities. It is amidst this flurry of activity that you notice a scribe meticulously penning a missive diplomatic note to a neighboring duchy concerning border disputes. You pause, observing the choice of words, each carefully weighed and measured to convey authority without aggression. In this art lies the essence of maintaining peace, a delicate balance sustained through the mastery of language. But the scriptorium also serves as an unwitting theatre for intrigue. Behind the facade of diligence, concealed whispers carry tales of scandal that eddy through your court. Letters hold the potential to reveal more than intended, and couriers may serve as vectors for gossip as well as news. It's within this environment that secrets are both propagated and protected, a peek into the undercurrents that swirl beneath the calm. Among the scribes, a young initiate named Agnes catches your attention. Her quick wit and knack for unraveling complex scripts have earned her a place among these guardians of ink and intuition. She informs you of a curious letter found in the archives, hinting at tales of betrayal and clandestine meetings between a tangle of motives expressed through elegantly penned phrases. Her insights shine a light on how secrets and scandals traverse realms, whisper thin, yet thunderous in implication. Historians will one day opine how these scribes, akin to journalists of the age, played pivotal roles in guiding political currents, their pens not merely tools of communication, but instruments of subtle influence. In a world where even silence can speak volumes, knowing when and how to wield these words becomes paramount. Having delivered your instructions, you move on, leaving the scriptorium behind with the understanding that within these rooms lies not just the power to inform but to transform society itself. The work these scribes perform forms the foundation of your realm's story, a testament to an age where communication was both revered as sacred and feared as treacherous. As you depart, you reflect on how layers of text and context mirror life's broader narratives, each chapter of which unfolds amidst candlelit alcoves where wisdom lies waiting. In the Game of Thrones, where alliances and enmity hinge upon the written word, the pen proves mightier than the sword. Evening now drapes itself over the landscape, as you retire with the knowledge that castles stand not merely upon stone, but upon words given life from ink-dipped quills. The culmination of ambitions and adversities dance through your thoughts, written anew upon midnight parchment and preserved within epochs. where the echo of history reverberates into tomorrow, entangled with truthful heart, until demise meets design ever prevails. The sun is high, casting its bold light over the expanses of your territory, as you prepare for an age-old diversion. The hunt. The hunt is so much more than a mere pastime. It is a cornerstone of noble life, enmeshed with politics just as much as it is with the thrill of the chase. In this medieval world where nature and nurture entwine within the annals of wood and field, hunting emerges as a ceremonial ritual blending commerce and camaraderie realm, where rules of courtly conduct meet the primal law of predator and prey. Mounted atop a steed groomed till its coat shone with the luster of newly minted silver, you survey your hunting party, a tapestry of friends, vassals, and visiting nobility eager for the sport. The excitement is tangible in the air, interwoven with the scent of fresh earth and the sharp tang of pine, resonating with the muffled anticipation of the day's proceedings. Dog handlers rein in energetic hounds, their eager barks cutting through morning's soft whisper and awakening the pulse of the hunt. The hunt is more than an act of pursuit. It is a stage where theatrics and status play out under the vast cathedral of sky, the forest, your cathedral, and your court. As your small yet formidable cavalcade prepares to set forth, the laughter and jests exchanged among your party serve dual purposes: entertainment and gauging loyalty. Here, alliances are forged in the crucible of shared experience, each member silently measuring the courage and mettle of their peers. Through the ages, hunting has grown not only as a means of provision, but as symbolic exercise, a dance of power echoed through the ages where skill and valor test one's standing amongst their peers. The act draws power both from ancient tradition and the land itself, marking territories as much in spirit as through ironclad decree. Historians still argue whether the hunt was an essential survival element or a symbol of dominance displayed by the upper echelons of medieval hierarchy. Yet, to partake is to become part of a continuum, aligning lordship with ritualistic tradition. Upon your signal, the party begins its journey into the wilderness, hooves striking an earthy rhythm upon worn paths carved through dense thickets and sunlit glades. The forest encircles you with its ageless embrace, towering oaks and pines standing sentinel like odes to nature's indomitable will. Each tree and bush plays its part in the grand symphony of living, breathing wild wood, a contrast to the ordered confines of castle life. With crossbows slung across backs and hawks tethered to leather-wrapped wrists, the hunt is both an expanse of freedom and an expression of controlled puissance, a portrait in which each component plays its role with calculated precision. The release of hounds marks the truest call to action. You all become players upon a stage influenced by the subtle caprice of woodland dominion. The chase itself enthralls and transforms, harnessing the latent skills honed not in banquet halls, but in the ineffable lessons of nature. As hoofbeats accelerate over root and rock, you find yourself drawn into the exhilarating dance of strategy and improvisation, searching for the quarry, testing the mettle of both hunter and steed. It is a fusion of instinct and practiced skill, a reminder of humankind's fundamental connection to the earth. Yet beneath this exterior of thrill lies another layer, the silent conversation that flows between you and those who ride at your side. Here amongst brush and bramble, camaraderie rivals any forged by blade or quill. The time spent maneuvering through trees is ripe for introspection, affording moments where genuine trust finds its breeding ground amid the shared adversity of the chase. Returning at last to the ruins of an ancient Saxon chapel within the forest, its stones shrouded in creeping ivy, you sense that this humble setting holds secrets once sworn to keep. The bounty varies a stag, perhaps, or a cunning fox, but the true triumph lies not merely in a successful hunt, but in the intangible bonds newly reinforced among those who dared the perils of the wild together. In time, when nature reclaims her quietude and sunlight begins its westerly descent, your party gathers, summoning the warmth of camaraderie and hearth fires yet distant. A sense of accomplishment permeates the air, and the spoils of the hunt serve not merely as sustenance, but tokens of shared experience, each moment a portion of history lived and learned. As you return to your hearth, weary yet sated by the day's events, you ponder the duality of the hunter note resonant within existence. This age-old diversion is a bridge between realms, an endeavor that tempers power with humility, channeling energy from courtly theater into enduring trust and understanding. Beneath the solemn gaze of stars, you rest assured that today's hunt was more than just a pursuit of game. It reaffirmed your station amidst a timeless circle of memory, stitched with understanding that stretches the skein of life in ever-unfurling paths of cooperation, competition, and kinship. Here lies the quiet reveries where musing unfolds, and as midnight's candle flickers by unseen drapery, visions settle a persistent reminder of how wilderness can entwine leadership, nature's truth bound with fate's immutable fiber, striving to form each hunting tale anew, with clarity born beneath night's whisper hued. As the sun sets beyond the castle walls and cloaks the landscape in a deepening velvet, you find yourself alone in your private chamber, contemplating the labyrinthine corridors of desire that wind through the heart of courtly life. Now removed from the hunt's exhilarating pursuits and the day's bustling affairs, your thoughts turn to a more personal realm, the realm of the heart. Here, in the quiet sanctuary of your quarters, you reflect upon the ailments of Amor, the intricate and often costly entanglements of romance within the medieval aristocracy. In your world, love can be a complicated and precarious venture, where the heart's desires often clash with the roles and responsibilities dictated by your station. The notion of courtly love has cultivated a romantic idealism, a ritualized dance of affection that treads the fine line between duty and passion, a dance where the steps are both invigorating and perilous. Historians still debate whether courtly love was more a genuine emotional pursuit or a socially constructed performance, one that allowed for the expression of forbidden desires in a controlled manner. In this context, the pursuit of love and companionship becomes a tapestry woven with threads of poetry, secret glances, and eloquent letters exchanged under the shroud of night. Though the concept of courtly love does not always find a place of permanence within the confines of marriage, it lives anew in the gentle touches and whispered confessions shared under the shadow of discretion. Tonight, you find yourself recalling the radiant smile of Lady Isabel Knight's daughter, whose presence at court has stirred more than idle musings. Her eyes, glinting with intelligence, evoke the luminescence of twilight stars, and her laughter fills the air with a melody that lingers long after she's left the room. In her company, you feel a sense of kinship, a meeting of minds and hearts that transcends the spoken word. In medieval nobility, courtship is a multifaceted spectacle, where societal scrutiny and personal yearnings perform a complicated waltz. Grand gestures of affection, poems penned, roses plucked from their thorny branches serve as codified gestures loaded with meaning. The skill lies in navigating these rituals with sincerity, for though love may be confined within ceremonial boundaries, its essence resonates within the soul. Yet, even as you dwell on the delicate allure of romance, there is also the undeniable recognition of its liabilities. Within the tapestry of love lies the risk of scandal and ruin, of hearts laid bare in ways too vulnerable to be repaired by quill or sword. A tangled web of whispered rumors can ensnare even the mightiest of hearts and render them helpless before the currents of social expectations. A courtier's watchful eyes miss little, and every lingering glance can transform into fodder for whispers that echo with the weight of inertia. Love can captivate and hold sway over more than just the soul. It can influence alliances, guide political maneuverings, and redefine the path of dynastic ambitions. Thus, love is not simply an emotional journey. It is a strategic consideration, one that demands you tread carefully over the shifting sands of propriety and consequence. In this respect, love becomes both an affliction and an inspiration, a subtle struggle between self-revelation and societal conformity. While your heart yearns for genuine connection, your mind remains acutely aware of the ramifications that any perceived impropriety could have on your standing and on those around you. As you muse over these intricacies, there emerges a deeper understanding of why love's pursuit is never truly free from the bonds of circumstance. It is a testament to the human condition, a quest neither entirely romantic nor wholly practical, a quest that continually oscillates between devotion and discretion. Yet for all these complexities, the pursuit of Amor draws upon more than mere obligation. It enacts a fundamental narrative, reminding you of the emotional depth and richness that inform all facets of life at court. It is where desire may meet its match in reality, forming an intricate weave that embodies the essence of what it means to love deeply and purposefully. The evening air grows cool within the enclosed space of your chamber, yet warmth lingers, a spark ignited by fleeting moments, gentle words, and the gentle refrain of a distant love song. As the candle flickers one last time before surrendering to darkness, you choose to embrace the embrace love offers, even if only for a momentous serenity that accompanies dreams unspoken, yet realized within the expanse of night. This understanding will echo long after the last note fades, coursing through like the steady tide of the moonlit river outside your window, rising and receding with each whispered sigh. Here, within love's tender grasp, you find a tapestry woven from fragments of reality, and reverie a patchwork of affections kindled effortlessly and cherished everlastingly beneath time's watchful eye. The castle is still wrapped in the gentle hush of the night as you prepare for a day that promises both challenge and opportunity. This morning, however, is charged with a sense of anticipation as you embark on a journey to explore an ever-present reality of lordship, balancing the power of the pen and the sword. In maintaining a domain, it's crucial to wield both these instruments with precision, for success does not solely depend on might, but also on the persuasiveness of diplomacy. As you gather your bearings amidst the dawning light, you feel the weight of decision ever upon you, a dual force, reflecting both ink and iron. Historians may argue over the relative supremacy of one over the other in terms of maintaining power, but you recognize that both aspects are essential, each complementing and enhancing the bond between rule and realm. Your destination today is a summit with your neighboring lords, a gathering where strategic alliances and potential disputes will be unpacked and deliberated. A subtle spectacle of negotiation awaits an arena, where dialogue becomes the tactic of choice, and eloquence serves as both armor and weapon. The gathering is not one of swords and shields, but a meeting of minds and intents, where allegiances will be reshaped with the deft stroke of argument and assent. Your solarium, bathed in morning light streaming through stained glass, serves as a temporary sanctum and abode, where plans are forged amidst parchments and maps. It is here where your chancellor accompanies you in preparation, steady and seasoned, as he arranges documents and organizes thoughts in their strategic layout. The flick of a quill becomes instrumental, each flourish a step in the dance of diplomatic engagement. The stroke of ink carries weight. Each carefully inscribed letter becomes a vessel of potential, an opportunity sculpted through narrative and tact. The treaties and declarations laid out before you, each inscribed with its nuanced language, reflect the present equilibrium that holds between cooperation and contention. A realm's stability often rests upon agreements made not in the heat of battle, but beneath the auspice of open discourse. While the thrill of combat remains storied in legend, it is in negotiation that true power proliferates. Historians often debate whether the art of diplomacy was the domain of peace or prelude to conflict, yet within the realm of lordship, discourse is an avenue for maintaining both prosperity and peace. In preparation, you review matters of import, disputes over trading privileges, border delineations, and mutual cooperation agreements. Each item represents potential both for conflict and compromise, born from various pressures and desires. Listening, as always, will be paramount, recognizing personal motivations amidst broader communal aspirations. Upon arrival at the convened gathering, an assemblage marked by rich attire and measured pleasantries, you feel the palpable hum of anticipation. The room, lined with banners and sigils of various houses, pulses with the interplay of rivalry and comradeship, held together by an unspoken tenet of diplomatic decorum. These are your peers, navigating the thickets of protocol with practiced grace and unsung assurance. In this chamber, a weave of conversation begins, each lord presenting his position through a tapestry of refined rhetoric and poised argumentation. The art of persuasion lies in identifying shared goals amid perceived differences, weaving through discussions until a chord resounds amidst deliberate order. Here, the pen becomes your ally, script embodying the alloyed strength of strategy and compromise. However, even in these dialogues, the influence of the sword persists. It looms beneath every interchange, a reminder of the tangible force that brings weight to words. A strategic masterstroke draws strength from both conviction and consequence, creating a mutual understanding that defines cooperation within the landscape of potential confrontation. At one juncture, the conversation unfolds into a dispute over river tithes, a matter reflecting more than mere resource allocation but potential contestation. An adept shift from discussion to defensible suggestions, tempered with subtle reminders of historical assurance estaves off the brewing storm. Here, among peers, you let eloquence prove its testament, guiding dissension towards harmony. As the deliberations draw to a close, documents are reshaped, signatures penned with intent to solidify resolved matters, marking progress not only in ink, but in reputation. What began as verbal interplay now transforms into recorded certainty as tangible covenants, bolstering future interactions. Returning to your realm, the tranquility of the road offers moments within which to reflect on the duality you encountered. To command does not singly require fortitude or insight, but a harmonious symphony of every endeavor undertaken through unity's canvassed lens. And so, the story of power continues undiscovered across each declaration, each embrace, both written and wielded. In the twilight reflection echoing upon arrival, peace endures beyond archways vaulted forged, through both pens poised over parchment, and the stalwart measure of steel not drawn. Evening settles gently, as flickers of candlelight embrace the walls, casting quiet shadows upon your studies. Here in their embrace, you find the balance once more, between envisioning change and embodying steely resolve. May both pen and sword guide you steadfastly on, as each plays its part beneath benevolent nighter melodies sung through time, threading within the human quest for symbiotic peace and liege-bound strength shared. With the first light of dawn casting delicate shadows along the stone corridors, you awake to a reminder as old as the castle walls themselves. The intricate, often delicate relationship with the church. It is a connection both profound and precarious, a divine dilemma, offering both salvation and scrutiny. As a lord in medieval times, your power and decisions are not merely political, but also deeply interwoven with the ecclesiastical hierarchy, where prayers and petitions often carry as much weight as decrees. From your chamber, you can hear the distant chime of the monastery bells, their resonant echoes weaving into the fabric of morning, calling both monk and layman to their daily rituals. The church holds an undeniable sway over your realm, a spiritual authority that transcends the temporal rule enacted by your own hand. The clergy, with their access to sacred learning and the power to shape public moral consciousness, are both allies and overseers, a duality that requires balance and foresight. Historians have long debated whether the church's influence served as a benefit or a burden to medieval lords. But the truth is more nuanced. The spiritual guidance and legitimacy the church provides can bolster a lord's standing among subjects. Yet its mandates can sometimes constrain governance, nagging at the edges of lay ambition and shaping the enjoyment of power with divine sanction and moral responsibility. Today, you must navigate this divine dilemma as you attend to a matter of considerable import, a meeting with the local bishop. The castle's chapel, a sanctuary of quiet devotion adorned with stained glass and carved saints, becomes the locus for this encounter. Here, the scent of beeswax mingles with incense, curling intricately towards stone-hewn rafters, as sunlight streams through colored panes to dance upon the floor. Entering the chapel, you are greeted with solemn deference by the bishop, a venerable figure robed in humility, yet commanding respect. His role within your domain is multifaceted: spiritual leader, gatekeeper of heavenly approval, and mediator between earthly aspiration and ecclesiastical decree. Through dialogue lies the path to an understanding that honors both divine callings and worldly necessities. The topics at hand encompass a range of concerns: the allocation of tithe resources to support ecclesiastical endeavors, the sanctity of land dedicated to the church, and the ongoing challenge of offering spiritual guidance amidst political strife. Each point raised is infused with layers of theological import, coupled with the need for pragmatic solution-finding where land rights behave practically as well as spiritually. The conversation weaves between prayerful reflection and strategic compromise. It is a delicate dance where even small gesture holds magnitude, offering more than mere concession. Each nod, slight or slighted, resplendent in reflections long trained. Your own understanding of faith's impact on governance underscores a conviction beyond mortal impulse, beholding duty more profound where providence binds estate and soul. The meeting reveals more than collective aims. They become spans along bridges of mutual benefit. Your interests, aligned as notions of stewardship, illuminate the shared bond that connects domain and diurnal life. As Bishop's tone speaks with contemplative cadence, so too does the weight rest gently, crafting solutions both moral and methodical. Together, you deliberate how best to emulate divine benevolence, preserving parish integrity by ensuring longevity through acts of testament advantaged in tandem. It is not without its tensions, for complexities persist even within common cause. Church doctrine must temper ambitions, offering both blessing and reflection on historical precedent. Yet these moments echo the essence of divine relationship, a mindful alliance between mortal aspiration and spiritual illumination. Resolutions forged within chapel recess are marked both by valiant understanding and harmonious realignment. Informed by consensus and sustained by conscience's whisper, what is signed with quiet assurance becomes more than a parchment accord. It reflects an intertwining of visions aligned toward a wasteland where legacy offers woven shadows, transcending fates conducive through justice, whence valued and where faith meets foresight within reputations upheld as benign benesh. As you depart the chapel, the bell tolls the close of another chapter in your realm's ethereal chronicleon, penned with devout words and deft diplomacy. Under the watchful gaze of stained glass hues, you've navigated the threadbare path, reaffirming both fidelity to faith and fidelity to liberty. Back in your chambers, the afternoon light begins its slow march across the castle, casting elongated patterns on stones well weathered by time. Today's deliberations remind you that lordship extends beyond mere dominion or decree. It is the soft march of echoes reflected in both church and keep. Honor is aligned both within spirit and truth's eternal arcs, uniting divine duology intent on the trust of those who seek the truth. As shadows grow, candlelight bravely illuminates this truth-tender lesson's ravel reasons, as night falls silent within castle walls grand. Here rests overnight's palpable truthware, faith and sword parry dawn in unity tantamount, bound by common cause, illuminating inklings once known, now reminisce in endless embrace. With the day dawning anew, casting its rosy light across the familiar spires and ramparts of your castle, you contemplate the horizon, the physical boundary of your domain, and a metaphor for opportunity beckoning beyond. This morning carries both anticipation and significance, as you prepare for a peregrination, a journey that extends beyond the immediate comfort of your lordly halls, venturing into territories unknown. Pilgrimages and travels of power are rites of passage for a lord, blending adventure with duty, devotion with diplomacy. The art of travel in medieval times is an intricate tapestry, weaving together the threads of necessity, politics, and spiritual quest. Each journey is fraught with potential to chance to fortify relationships, gather intelligence, and perhaps most significantly, to experience personal renewal. The very act of leaving your lands serves to strengthen your grasp upon them, a testament to the paradox of power that ancient lords have mastered for generations. Historians have speculated on the extent to which pilgrimages and voyages were tactical maneuvers as much as spiritual odysseys. But for you today, both motives entwine seamlessly as you prepare. The prospect of visiting a sacred site or attending a significant council outside your borders carries the promise of divine favor and mortal bonding, a marriage of earthly intent and heavenly blessing. The preparations are a production unto themselves, involving an entourage of retainers and attendants, horses for transport and protection, and faithful banners that flutter with the steadfast loyalty of your house. Each item packed and each companion chosen reflects the careful choreography of medieval traveller painstaking process, necessitated by both the unpredictability of the journey and the perception it leaves in its wake. At the forefront of your train is the sense of pilgrimage, an inheritance carrying not only earthly curiosity, but the celestial promise of gaining insight through geographical pursuit. Whether your path leads to the renowned shrine of a venerated saint, or to the court of a neighboring ruler, the essence of the journey lies not solely in its destination but in the stories gathered on the road, resonant with the aspirations of yore. Your own spirit of exploration is buoyed as you mount your steed amid the gentle clamor of preparations, horse hooves clattering against the courtyard's age-stained cobblestones. As you depart beneath the castle gate, adorned with intricate heraldry, you feel a shifter transition to the realm of the traveller, the centennial narrative swelling within signets grand and soil-bound. The path is varied, from well-trodden trade routes lined with hostelries and homely inns, to the less-travelled byways that snake through dense forests and over windswept moors. These roads are silent witnesses to the passage of countless souls before yours, each leaving their own imprint on the land, each taking away its lessons comfort in collective pilgrimage-searching journeys long embraced. Along the way, you encounter wayfarers and pilgrims of every persuasion, their tales intermingling with your own, as the firelight flickers over communal meals shared beneath starlit canopies. You foster a camaraderie born of shared trials and victories, making alliances not only with rulers, but with the common folk who glimpse fortune's favor in your passing. The church bells, distant yet ever-present, resonate with each step taken, mirroring the rhythm of your own heartbeat as you contemplate the significance of your pilgrimage. Spiritual understanding extends beyond the hallowed walls of sacred spaces. It's the land, the people, the acts of communion amidst the journey, broadening the definition of pilgrimage itself, binding nature, destiny, and divine communion. While diplomacy, indeed, takes root in foreign soils through meetings and exchanges, it's the stories of those you encounter, troubadour, trader, or traveler, where seeds of understanding unfurl. In foreign courts or sacred sites, you carry forward with an unwavering purpose: to share the narrative that stands resilient beyond divisions defined by beliefs or boundaries. As the journey draws you closer to its conclusion, and paths wind back towards the walls which first braved you forth, you find lessons in nature's tapestry, stretched beneath an indifferent sky. Strengthened by each wayward mile, you return with an understanding deepened by miles traversed and prayers whispered upon new wind. You realize that such treks are transformative, not merely in the physical distance covered, but within an emotional and intellectual trek of imagination, torches flamed by the spark of wisdom traded along each happenstance encounter, marking that this polar voyage features treasure, neither frozen nor forsaken. Upon your return to the storied refuge of castle grounds, evening light casts its tender embrace over stones once unnoticed amid youthful farewells. The resonance of yesterday returns under night's lulling cadence, spirits blessed by eternal whispers, faintly spoken within steps cascading toward dome's fuselage. Here, within kind sobriety and tranquil realms anew, you uncover anew today's bounty. Insights gained, legends heard, the pastara fount sustaining a future boundless, blended in rovish hues as spirited tracers, dancing the pilgrimage of time. As the glow of morning light spills through the castle windows, you find your thoughts drawn toward the architectural ambitions and limitations that define not only your domain, but your identity as a lord. The castle, in all its grandeur and fortitude, stands as both a testament to legacy and a constant reminder of the ceaseless demands of maintaining such a formidable structure. In a world where stone and mortar symbolize strength, the challenges of building and preserving these edifices can become as imposing as their towering battlements. In medieval times, castles are more than mere homes or fortifications. They are embodiments of power, security, and stability. Their walls guard not only the bodies of those who dwell within, but the histories and futures of the lineages they protect. A lord's renown is often measured by the grandeur of his castle, yet hidden beneath the surface lies a formidable tasker dance with engineering and economics that requires as much cunning and creativity as any political maneuver. As you make your way to the outer bailey, the pulse of construction activity greets you a symphony of sound as stonemasons craft raw blocks into the elegantly hewn shapes that will rise to fortify your keep. The distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer and the rhythmic chatter of craftsmen echo through the air, each note a reminder of the thousand small efforts needed to preserve a fortress of such magisterial presence. Historians still argue over whether medieval architecture prioritized defensive capability above aesthetic grandeur. But you know, the two are inseparable. The grandeur of soaring towers and meticulous stonework is part of the allure and part of the defense mechanism deterring would-be aggressors with its imposing visage alone. Throughout the ages, a castle must evolve, grow, and adapt, responding to needs both of warfare and domesticity. Yet every addition brings the complexities of architectural limitation. This week, your task involves not a new tower or wall, but the more pressing improvement of the castle's outdated drainage system, a reminder that beneath resplendent beauty lurk very practical concerns. Rainwater can prove as insidious as any enemy, and an adequate drainage plan ensures that your domain's splendor remains unmarred by nature's entropic forces. Much like nurturing a garden, maintaining the castle involves an ongoing commitment to address the elemental challenges that the passage of time presents. Walking alongside your steward, you review the castle's plans, painstakingly inked upon parchment, reflecting not just the vision and work of architects, but also the evolving needs of the inhabitants. These plans mirror possibilities as much as reality's creativity, paired with calculators of resource and strength. Solutions must be devised with both a keen awareness of the structural demands and a mindful diplomacy that negotiates earthly constraints. Your architect, a man whose understanding of materials and physics rivals that of any seasoned forester, presents proposals for modification each suggestion, steeped in an understanding of the delicate interplay between innovation and tradition. He brings news of new ideas borrowed from travel narratives employed elsewhere with success and worthy of consideration within your own domain. It's a moment when knowledge shared becomes heritage expanded to complement your continuing claim. Yet, even as progress unfolds, considerations extend beyond stone and mortar. Every decision carries with it a ripple effect, whether sustaining livelihoods among workers or reaffirming commitments to those taking shelter in your care. Castles are designed to endure and withstand, and within each wall lies the testament of labor securing not only physical safety, but the encouragement of communal identity, continuity intertwined within each stone placed with deliberate purpose. Discussions with the architect deepen, encompassing both construction methodologies and the subtleties of preserving your heritage through mindful adaptation. There is talk of incorporating Roman techniques, a blend of ancient wisdom illuminated by careful experimentation with materials of today. It is a delicate balance, such innovation within deeply held tradition, and the future spearheads above towers wholly braced within memories and marble. As the day draws on, and the meticulous plans are laid down piece by piece in ink and stone, in sweat and intention you gaze across the burgeoning panorama of your estate, understanding keenly that the ambitions and limitations of castle architecture are a reflection of our desires writ large upon the earth, each tower standing as a calibrated walk toward the forgiveness of forward thought, painted by mortal hands, a stage set for whispers of eternity. And as evening descends, shadows lengthening over the masonry tools and scaffoldings, a quietness false, a reminder of the past, now molded into form. The castle remains emblem of enduring mastery, embodiment of lineage through battlement's future form. Here, solutions met with gravity intertwined, rest bravely on Charleston, where time whispers dancing beneath heaven's starry hearth. Within walls measured not just by height nor width, but by dreams eternally unfurling into new purpose at each dawn's silent serenade. As evening settles into the quiet hush of twilight, you find yourself wandering the corridors of your castle, enshrouded in a contemplative silence. It is a time for reflection, for in these moments of stillness, the weight of history seems to press down more heavily, and the notion of legacy takes on a tangible form. Every stone, every tapestry within your fortress stands as a testament to the endeavors of those who came before you, and you are ever aware of the responsibility to uphold and honor that heritage lord's legacy, shaped not only by past achievements, but also by the expectations it weaves around the present. Your journey as a steward through time is not merely about sustaining a lineage, but sculpting a narrative worthy of remembrance. In medieval society, where oral traditions and written annals preserve the echo of lives lived, legacy acts as both burden and beacon, a call to action, and a reminder of mortality. It's a balancing act between acting as a custodian for ancestral triumphs and crafting new victories that will, in turn, be entrusted to future generations. Historians often ponder whether medieval lords were driven more by personal ambition or by the desire to leave a lasting mark. The answer may lie somewhere in between. For you, it is an intricate interplay of both the dance with destiny, where each step invites careful consideration. For every decision shapes the legacy that future ages will both inherit and interpret. In the dim corridors hung with rich tapestries depicting scenes of valor and conquest, you pause to admire the artistry, each stitch a deliberate narrative detail that weaves together heritage and hierarchy. These woven scenes are more than aesthetic flourishes. They serve as mnemonic devices, recalling tales of family might yet striving to usher upon pending imagination when continuity beckons. As you linger amidst these stories, you reflect on the hall of Ancestorsa gallery filled with portraits commenced long ago, bearing watchful eyes toward your own endeavors. Here, gazes of wisdom and inquiry echo through the ages. Their silence welcomes contemplative dialogue, inviting you to join this lineage, responsible now for its continuance and expansion. Those who came before you achieved greatness not simply through acts of power or military prowess, but through thoughtful consideration of the contexts in which they lived and ruled. They adapted to challenges, bent tradition to suit their lands and people, and understood that legacy is neither static nor singular. It is alive, an ongoing dialogue with the past that speaks through deeds and enriches the present. And so, considering these tales told in thread and pigment, you are reminded that your actions today will one day ripple outward, echoing through the halls of time, melding into a legacy that transcends individual lives. It is this continuum, this invisible web, that imbues your every endeavor with significance, and within it lies a promise that each action finds meaning when seen through the lens of legacy. The people you govern will write their own stories, shaped in part by the script you leave to them. Choices made with wisdom rather than impulse become whispers, returned with the seasons intertwining like vines across the expansive canopy of human experience. The landscape is malleable, awaiting your stamp, yet it must be molded with forethought, care, and charity. Yet, as you walk these memorial halls, a testament to ongoing traditions and innovations, the future stretches out before you like an untamed horizon. You ponder the changes each generation predicates. You understand your choices pose opportunities for growth and progress, even as they risk testamentary challenge. You weigh each deed for its potential impact, realizing that possibilities lie not simply within these walls, but within the relationships you foster, echoing through communal memory and forging the details of forthcoming legacy anew. So, steadfast and resolute, you carry forth into night's descending embrace, holding nurturing understanding, wherein laid against stone-created walls your deepest vows remain imprinted, a promise to the past, to the present, and to the untold pages destined yet to come. Beneath the ever-watchful stars, the castle sleeps, an ancient aspiration tethered to temporal threadwork, breathing amidst dreams renewed in undertakings, waiting in offering to legacy unfurled within a life's great narrative, spanning between stories long-lived and soundly sketched into shared fragments, scribed upon eternity's transcendent light. Here rests the equilibrium within unfolding presence, bound unto timeless inquiries, exploring for whom the tapestry extends where longing shimmers always in time's contemplative glow. As the days turn into seasons, and the seasons into years, a subtle but irrevocable tide begins to shift beneath the foundations of your lordly domain. With a discerning eye, you perceive changes afoot not just within your castle walls, but stretching far and wide across the contours of medieval society itself. It is as if the world around you is inhaling deeply, preparing for a transition that will echo through the annals of history. These are times of evolution, where the end of an era beckons a medieval world in transition, laden with pressures that herald the approaching dusk of lordship as it has long been known. The quiet murmur of news from distant lands reaches your ears, tales of technological advancement stirring just beyond the horizon. The invention of devices ingenious and mechanical heralds the dawn of innovations that will forever reshape the landscape of power. The movements of time's great pendulum seem suddenly accelerated, signaling a shift where tradition vies with progress as the world experiments aloud, finding fluctuating equilibrium within novel possibilities. Historians will one day look back at these moments and debate whether this transition was abrupt or a slowly turning wheel. But standing amid it, you sense the weight of the wheel's inexorable momentum as societies unfurl in the face of newfound capabilities. Your role, entrenched within time-honored rituals, bears reconsideration and adaptation, perhaps less as a singular sovereign and more as a guide through the evolving landscape of cultural rebirth. Among the most transformative treasures is the burgeoning prevalence of literacy. Once the closely guarded provenance of clergy and scribes, the written word now finds its way into the hands of merchants, artisans, and the emerging middle class. This dissemination of knowledge, sparked by the embers of inquiry, is not just an academic pursuit, but a catalyst sparking revolutions of thought. A new form of power arises, bolstered by the spread of ideas, rendering the pen mightier still even as armor loses its edge. Commerce, too, shifts the equilibrium. Far-reaching trade routes weave intricate tapestries of exchange, introducing goods and philosophy-esque cultural touchstones born from distant shores. In the great trade centers of the region, merchants present goods that dazzle the senses, drawing interest and envy from nobles and commoners alike. These exchanges transcend the transactional, shaping perceptions and challenging conventions and altered order, gradually emerging through the labyrinth of choice. Amid these swirling currents, you alongside contemporaries and fellow rulers must learn to navigate an era defined by complexity and change. The pressures of innovation necessitate reconsideration of governance, affecting relationships with vassals, peasants, and even erstwhile competitors. It is not sufficient merely to claim allegiance. One must rightly earn trust through alliances broadened by experience, understanding, and shared ambition for morrow. Even within the familiar Fina household, novel whispers gain traction. Artisans bring insight from their guilds, stewards offer techniques honed from travels afar, reshaping the ways estates are managed and resource overseen. The tide of these developments will continue to swell, amalgamating expertise from all layers of society, as Divergence defines selection for those willing to embrace the winds of clime. In this realm where both uncertainty and potential permeate the air, you gaze upon your castle bastion of the old Garters, both relic and refuge. It symbolizes stability amid chaos, a constant reassuring in time's river of dace. Yet it is clear that survival now requires a reconsideration of structure, not in purely physical terms, but as an ethos bridging historical legacy and the pathways of fresh perception. Within this dawning era, you find yourself the custodian of an evolving narrative, steward of an epoch neither clinging nor discarding with callous parting. The inheritance you pass forward remains tethered to honor and foresight, an empowering promise seeking stories not yet broached. At the heart of these transformations lies a truth resonant in both shape and signature. Endurance rests not solely on the stones you command, but upon the choices you Fashana dance. Time corporeal and ethereal. As twilight settles over your realm, etching elongated sigils of shadow upon parapet watch, there remains a promise innate within night's advance. It reflects the interlace upon each archway cast with inward reflection, an awakening to align discernment with distance optimism. This convergence charges today's journey, bridging chronicle where ancient lore rests intertwined vibrancy anew through gathering labor, encompassing dimensions unpenned, with the stars plotting celestial paths overhead, guiding silent orders of celestial maps charted. You embrace transformation as an ally. The end of an era whispers, stating less of cessation and echoing rather renewal. Thus, with steadfast will, the future awaits shaping inviting presence to lead, amidst unfolding morn bravely born. The tapestry unspooling stories reaching beyond ancestral intuition into tomorrow's boundless realm. The air is still, the evening sky a canvas of deep indigo punctuated by the first glittering stars. As you walk the familiar paths within your castle's bounds, a profound sense of reflection accompanies you. It is here, at the threshold of both the known and the undiscovered, that the journey of your lordship unfurls one last time in contemplation, a reflection upon life and legacy, woven with the threads of history and destiny. In these moments, eternal rest and reflections merge, unveiling the imprints you leave behind on this ever-unfolding story of survival and stewardship. Looking back over the epoch of your rule, you trace each choice, each decision as one might trace the intricate designs of an illuminated manuscript. There were times of great triumph and moments of introspective doubt. There were battles fought not only on fields of conflict, but in the heart's own arena, demanding courage and compromise. You recall the laughter of feasts and the solemnity of treaties sealed under watchful eyes and flickering torchlight, each event contributing to the intricate tapestry of what it means to lead. Your steps lead you to the chapel, where the low hum of a prayer echoes off the stone walls, a testament to the enduring connection between the earthly and the divine. Here, amid whispered hopes and candlelight's soft glow, you find a moment of solace, a reprieve from the constant thrum of lordship's demands, a place where the soul finds cleansing release. The chapel stands as a symbol of continuity and faith's quiet endurance, providing comfort in the knowledge that there is grace beyond the reach of temporal concerns. You ponder the lives you've touched, vassals and knights, craftsmen and peasants, who together forged the living entity that was your realm. The bonds woven through shared hardships and victories extend far beyond any material legacy, leaving a lingering connection between lord and steward greater than gold or land. It is these relationships, built on trust and mutual respect, that form the heart of your enduring influence, carved lovingly into the land's immortal memory. Historians will one day debate the efficacy of your reign, but nestled within time's gentle embrace, these questions lose their sting. You understand the essence of your legacy isn't merely encapsulated in facts and figures, but survives in the stories passed down, the heartfelt narratives that continue to foster ambition and nurture dreams. It is through these tales that your spirit endures, a guiding light for those who will walk the paths you once traversed. In the quiet of the twilight, you stand upon the ramparts, gazing out over the lands that have become an intrinsic part of your being. The breeze carries with it an intimate caress, whispering terminal truth in the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant call of a nightingale each note, a reminder of cycles eternal, tethered to life's continuum braved. This is where your journey has led through trials and triumphs, through the fleeting joys and solemn farewells. You have sculpted a legacy forged not of stone but of experience, wisdom gathered in every encounter, and embraced through every echo of life, lived fully and earnestly. By shedding light where darkness sought a hold, you have demarcated a path weaving the breadth of your era into the lacework of an overarching history. Amidst these reflections, you realize that while the chapters written under your watch may come to a close, the story itself marches on, striding bravely forward with fresh eyes and resolved hearts ready to embrace the future. You are but one thread in an intricate tapestry of humanity, vital stitch, yet part of a greater whole, destined to tell its own tale with another's voice. As the last embers of daylight give way, you allow a gentle peace to settle within, a luminous reminder that though eras end, the spirit remains, resilient, generous, and profoundly interconnected. Your earthly duties fulfilled, you relinquish the burdens of lordship to rest beneath the eternal sky, where legacy silently unfurls. With a final look towards the heavens, you welcome the quiet certainty nestled within night's serene embrace, resting assured in your role as custodian of both lineage and passion, a storyteller who walked these halls and breathed life into the realm. And so, as the winds of time carry your name gently through history's enduring corridors, the saga of this lordship, a chapter among many, whispers timelessly on. Sweet dreams.